Hello, everyone. Michael Jordan fans are the best. And today we are live streaming from my platform, NMB Sports, Sports and Fitness Rants, and Rex's platform. And today we've got something special here. We're going to be talking about, is the dominant center back for the NBA? Are they here to stay, or is this just a trend? But as I said, we've got NMB Sports here. We've got Rex here. We've got Robin here. And then we've also got Hoop God here. How are you all doing today?
Good.
Absolutely. For all of this, for all intents and purposes, I want this to be more of an open discussion. I feel like there's more aspects that could be covered versus how we did it last time. But I just for the panel, anyone can answer first. How important do you think it is to have a dominant postman who can do all the things that they traditionally are able to do? And I'll leave it at that for now.
Anybody want to jump in, or want me to go ahead?
I mean, I'll go first. That's fine. I mean, obviously, you know, it's always been an inside-outside game, right? You want layups, you want dunks, you want high percentage shots, and that's kind of always been the thought process, right? It hasn't until like the last 20 years where the thought process has changed a little bit. But at the end of the day, you still want layups and dunks. You want as high a percentage of shot as possible, and so therefore, a dominant center has always been preferred over any other position, I think, right? If you can have only one dominant position on your team, you had to pick. I would think, you know, not thinking injury, I think most people would say a dominant center is what they would probably start with, right? Defensively, they protect the rim. Offensively, they're getting high percentage shots. Of course, free throws and stamina goes into the big man too. But I think for the most part, the dominant center is what people want at the end of the day.
All right. What do you have to say about that, Rex? Do you have anything to say, or does anybody else have something to say?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's you know, Red Auerbach's philosophy is given equal talent, you always take the bigger guy. Basketball is the only sport where the goal is 10 feet high. You know, so the closer you are to that 10-foot mark, the more advantage you have. And when you look through the history of the NBA, it's always really been about dominant centers. Always. It never really got away from that except for one team with Golden State. You know, even during when the Bulls were winning on their streak, they were winning without a dominant center. But you had a lot of dominant centers in the league at that time. That was a center, you know, heavy era. It's just that his team was able to win without it. But, you know, you had Ewing, Olajuwon, Mourning, Mutombo, you know, how many am I forgetting, you know? Shaq. Yeah, all of them at that time. So that was like the golden era almost, just like back in the 60s and early 70s of the big man. But they just weren't winning the titles except for Olajuwon's two. And then obviously in 99, you had the San Antonio Twin Towers, you know. But really, when you look at it, it's always been when Boston won in the 80s, they didn't have a dominant center in Parrish, but they had a dominant front line.
Yeah.
And then they were going against the Moses-led teams, and then they were going against the Lakers with Kareem. So it's always been a center dominant league. It's just that the whole, and I got into this last night, this whole perspective that the three ball is so influential, it really hasn't been overly effective, except for the team that had the best to ever do it. Other than that, you've got Milwaukee winning with Giannis. You've got Denver winning with Jokic. You know, people like to pretend that LeBron is a guard, but he's a 6'9" forward. So that, you know, you're still talking about big guys winning for the vast majority.
All right. Robin or Hoop Guy, do you guys have anything to say about all of this?
Yeah, I'll say something real quick off of what Rex was saying. It goes like to what you're saying. You're talking about. What we're talking about here is the inside-out game of the NBA and its history. It's always been known as an inside-out game. So when Rex is talking about Michael Jordan, the Bulls being successful in the 90s, the reason they were still successful is because Michael Jordan in the postseason was the greatest down-low post threat that the NBA had. Michael Jordan was the Bulls' best post player. So it was still an inside-out game when you're running the triangle offense and you have Michael Jordan in the post and teams don't know to run the double team at Michael Jordan. Is he going to spin baseline? Is he going to make the quick decision? Is he going to turn around and shoot over the left shoulder? What is he going to do? So it's still an inside-out game. So that's what this is really all coming to. That's why Michael Jordan changed the game. Like Rex said, the 90s had all these centers, all the guys Rex mentioned, even guys like Mark Eaton and guys like Ronnie Cycli and Rick Smits. Some of these other guys, you know, so they were really dominant centers back in them days, but Michael Jordan had the down-low presence. The Bulls still had that down-low presence. So, yeah, you know, when we're talking about, you know, a center and the big man, it all comes back to that down-low presence. And, you know, that's what goes back to the balance. You want to have that balance when we watch the games. When everybody's just coming down and they're, you know, shooting all these long-range shots, it takes away a little bit from the balance. So it's nice to see some of these other guys develop the low post games or the high post, you know, whatever it may be, and try to change the game up and get a little bit more balance, a little bit more mix in the game. That goes to why a lot of people don't really, you know, want to watch the game. So, yeah, absolutely, man, having that dominant, you know, big man or even, like I said, a dominant post-up player. You know, even guards, I remember, even a lot of the point guards back in the day, these guys had a post-up game where they could put you down the block, or Mark Jackson, or Gary Payton. You know, some of these guys, man, they would back you down, or Rod Strickland. So, you know, you definitely having that inside-out game has always been key.
Yeah, and just to echo your point, Robert, and also everything that you guys stated as well, Rex and NMB. I like to use boxing analogies when I'm like incorporating into my basketball perspective, right?
I love boxing analogies too.
Right, and this is how I would break it down. To me, when you got that low post presence. By the way, Hakeem Olajuwon is my all-time greatest center. I just want to throw that out there. When you got the low post game, like Robin was saying, I analogize that as like going to the body, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's how you want to do what? Wear down your opponent's legs. If you're constantly giving him body shots, you know, and I'm talking about like precision, like shots that he's just boom, boom, boom. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter. Now, fourth quarter, those legs are gonna start getting a little fragile down there. You can't take all of that punishment, right? And I feel like when you establish that low post presence, right now, you can dictate the pace of the game. Because let's just throw out there a team like Golden State, right? I got two teams that would I got two, as a matter of fact, two. I don't want to say three, but two teams I know for sure could nullify them. The Twin Towers that Rex mentioned with David Robinson and Tim Duncan, and also Hakeem Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson. I say that because look how they handled the Showtime Lakers. No, I don't think anybody anticipated the 86 Rockets knocking them out. But you know why they did? They had two low post players that could do what? They could score down there, but they could also rim protect. That's the last line of defense. Now, what does that do for your guard, your perimeter guys? It allows them to play aggressive on the perimeter, i.e. Bill Russell. Everybody want to say, hey, Bill Russell had all these teammates. Okay, he probably did. But when they know they had Bill Russell that could clean up their mistakes, it allowed them to play more aggressive on the perimeter because it's like, all right, hey, the big fella got us down there. And see, when you got that low post presence, and I always say this, it opens up for everything else, because now you got teammates trying to, I mean, not team, but your opponents trying to figure out a way to do, like, hey, okay, we got to get him off this block. We have to concoct some type of scheme to try to stop their low post production. But now you can open up the mid range, you can open up the 3-ball, you can open up the ISO scoring based off of you establishing that low post presence with the big man. So that's my take on that one.
No, I totally agree with that. I think that's a great analogy, because I know when I play and I'm playing against a big man that's just dominating it, I think that's, for me personally, that is more demoralizing than watching somebody get a 3-pointer, because you're just like, oh, in my opinion, playing, not that I'm a, super great player or anything, but when I see somebody who can't be stopped in the paint, I just, like, my heart drops every time I see them get the ball. And it's like, all right, well, that's a bucket. With a 3-point shot, there's things that you can, I think, a lot easier to go and negate things where you got a 3-point shot. But to all your guys' points, yeah, it's an inside-out game in concept, in my opinion. The closer you get to the basket, the easier it is to score. And I think, and I brought this up particularly in the team aspect, because now look at the Minnesota Timberwolves with Rudy Gobert and Cat. They're doing well. I believe they're number 1 in the West. If they've gotten out of that spot, they're definitely still at the top. And it's because they cannot be stopped down in the paint, or they just have these dominant big men that people have gone away for years at this point. They want to talk about skill players. And I had my George Mikan debate a little while ago, and the whole concept of that, why George Mikan was so great, is he could do everything that the little guys could do, except he was taller. Now look at what the NBA is coming back to. Skilled big men that can dominate everybody else, and they're plainly bigger. It's just a matter of fact that size matters, especially in basketball. Shooting 3-pointers, being able to do all these other things, that's great. It's a part of the game. I'm not saying it isn't, but to the point of it is that size matters. And the entire concept, the entire basis of starting from George Mikan is having a dominant center. You guys have anything to say about that before I probe another question or anything like that? Or you got anything to add? Anybody in any order?
Oh, no. I mean, whenever you transition, because I'm like right now, my guy is Nikola Jokic, because I've been studying that guy, man. He has not let me down.
What do you guys think about Jokic since Hoop God brought him up?
Well, Nick, like we had mentioned briefly last night, he actually plays a lot like Walton, but away from the basket.
Perfect example, Rex. Perfect example.
He can be flashy on occasion, just to keep himself entertained, really. But the passing from all angles, every type of pass he's adept at, and then he's an extremely competent shooter. And then on defense, that big body, he doesn't have to necessarily be a rim protector as far as blocking shots, and the fact that with that big body, he's able to clog up some lanes.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about that a couple of days ago over on TikTok, and we were talking about guys with their skill set right now, like with no changes, who could go back and play based off of what they were able to do. And when we took the poll, of course, Nikola Jokic won. We had some of the guys that was trying to put Giannis up there, which, if you want to say he vacillates between power forward and center, that's fine. But with the style of the offense in the 90s, with the power forward being the enforcer, and then you got the center who's playing close to the goal, it's like, no, they're not going to let Giannis do that. Like, they're going to cut him off and build up a wall. Now, Nikola Jokic, on the other hand, he's gonna bring a different element, because he can play out of that high post, but he also can pass, like Rick said. But his skill work is so phenomenal. He can get his own shot. And I told him, and I told all them on there, I said, go back and look at how he dominated Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is more athletic. He's more quicker laterally. All the athletic metrics, Anthony Davis clears him. But when it comes to the skill set, the IQ, and the intangibles, Nikola Jokic destroyed him. I said, every time I saw Anthony Davis towards the end of the third quarter, fourth quarter, he was over there gasping, because Nikola Jokic was putting that body on him, and he couldn't do nothing with him. He couldn't do nothing with him at all. And I said, that's why I'm taking Nikola Jokic, with his shooting ability, his passing ability, his shot-making ability, and then just his anticipation on defense, being able to get in a position to either draw a foul or make you alter your shot, just based off his presence, and or even contesting the shot, not necessarily blocking, but him contesting the shot, throwing off your rhythm, like just little stuff like that don't show up on the stat sheet. I told him, I said, yo, ain't no center in the game right now better than Jokic. That was my take.
What's your thoughts on that, Robin?
Yeah, man. I mean, Jokic is doing his thing right now in the NBA. He's kind of got it on lock right now when you think about the overall aspect and the way the game is played, man. So, I can't help but think this when I think about someone like a Jokic, man. I really wish that he was playing in the 90s, man. And I really wish he had the opportunity to go against some of the really legit all-time centers, man. Not because I believe he wouldn't hold up to those guys, just for his own sake, for his legacy, so to speak. Because when we talk about the big man making a comeback, who's his competition right now at the big man spot? His competition would happen to be a guy like Joel Embiid, man. That's really his legit one-on-one. That's his guy. When you think about Hakeem Olajuwon back in the day, his other guy, that was David Robinson, man. That was the other guy that was looking him eye to eye, man, in his conference, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Now, these guys aren't in the same conference, but when we get on Joel Embiid, what are we getting on him about? Because he seems to be ducking the smoke from Jokic. He don't really want it with Jokic because he knows Jokic is that dude right now. He's got it on lock. He does all these things at a high level, man. So for me, I really wish that, the big man was really, kind of like in a golden age, so to speak, or that it never really went away, The big man, was kind of gone. And now, like, what are we talking about now? The big man kind of making a renaissance, coming back, right? Because it was gone. So it's really good to see someone like Jokic and Giannis and Embiid, where was Karl Anthony Towns all these years, man? This guy's been a no-show. And now he's got Gobert there. He's got Anthony Edwards kind of carrying the weight, so to speak. And now all of a sudden the Minnesota Timberwolves are doing good. But where was Karl Anthony Towns for the last several years before that, man? He was nowhere to be found either, man. He wasn't given no strict competition at that big man position. So, it's really good to see Jokic doing his thing, man. I'm impressed with what he's doing, man, because every single night when you think there might be a drop-off or the Nuggets may not be the real deal, this dude just does something else, man. You know what I'm saying? He's one of those kinds of guys, man. So I want to see Joel Embiid do something, man, because for me, he's the guy who got something to prove, man.
Nick, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, the evolution of the big man, right? Even when we talk about, I think Rex was kind of saying, even the more dominant players win with the big man. A lot of the big men that he's probably thinking of too are good shooters now, right? They kind of run out of the high post instead of the low post. They can do so many things from there, right? So it would be an interesting matchup, right? To pull some of those other centers out a little further from the basket and see what it was like or how they would act with each other. So yeah, I agree though. But yeah, even the more dominant big men these days, right? They're just better shooters, maybe pass a little better out of the double team from the high post, things like that, right? Just a little bit of a different flair. So it would be interesting to see the two styles play against each other. That's for sure.
Rex, you got anything to say about it?
Well, one thing that I just thought of, and what I've seen of Jokic is what we're looking at with Jokic right now is what we didn't get to see with Sabonis when he was young because he wasn't allowed to come here.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that it would have been great to see young Sabonis in the NBA. I totally agree with that. For Jokic, if I had to say I'm a Sixers fan and I love Joel Embiid, but if I had to say there's one player that is my favorite player in the NBA, it's got to be Nikola Jokic. He just does everything. He's so smooth and he's so unassuming. I mean, dude, look at him. He's kind of chunky, he's got, he's weird. He speaks English, but he's talking about riding his horses and having fun after an NBA championship.
Larry Bird at center.
Yeah, essentially in regards to his attitude like that and his skill set. I think he is very skilled, and I think it's equatable. I'm not saying who is better, but I think he's a very skilled center and on par-ish with Larry Bird. He can shoot. He can post up. I'm not saying he's a super skilled dribbler or anything like that, but he's an absolute monster on the court, and nobody knows how to stop him, just plainly. You guys
I just want to say something real quick.
Yeah.
One last thing, man. This is really what I want to hit home with on this. If you guys know What have we noticed recently? Guys like Jokic, guys like Luka Doncic, guys like Giannis. What have they talked about over the last several years? About how the NBA is softer than the Euro leagues. This is what they've been saying about the NBA now. They were not saying about the NBA in the 90s and some of these other eras. They would never say that. The NBA players were always known for being more physical than the European players. That's what they were known for. The physicality, the toughness, the grit. The Europeans, they were known for being soft, for coming over here. The Vlade Divacs, these guys, they were the guys who were flopping around the European. They were flopping over to the NBA, these guys. But now, these years later, the Nikola Jokic, these are the tough guys. They're more physical. They're the ones who don't flop around and complain about calls. They just go out and ball. Whereas back in the day, it was the other way around. So that's what we really need to understand here.
Yep, and I want to echo your point on that too, bro.
Yeah, let's keep talking about it.
Yeah, overseas, the court is shorter. It's not as wide as it is in America too. So that also lends forth to you having to be more skilled, similar to what the early 2000s and all the way through the 90s, where you could actually like hand check guys and kind of guide them a certain way. And this is what and I'm on record of saying this before, and I'm gonna say it again. The Team USA they're not going to win the championship because once again, this analytical basketball is not going to translate in the international play where the court is smaller. They'll let you play a little bit more physical. You can get away with things over there that they don't do over here in America. And I tell these guys time and time again, you're not going to play analytical basketball over here and then all of a sudden just switch your brain to play international. It don't work like that. I said, if you don't practice your habits now, when you get over there, you're going to be in for a rude awakening because they didn't even place top 3. Oh, but they took some of the lower tier guys. Said doesn't matter. Even you take your top tier guys, if they don't start practicing their habits right now, when it's time for international play, they're gonna get embarrassed again. So, hey, Robin, you are exactly right, bro. I agree 1,000%.
Rex, you being an overseas basketball player back in the day, do you agree with that take? Do you think that what they're saying, or do you have anything to add about it?
Well, when you talk about foreign players being soft or back in the day, that actually has fluctuated back and forth a couple times. Whenever we played against the European teams in the 80s, they were very rough, but it's a different kind of physicality. Some things that were allowed in the NBA in the 80s, like the bodying in the post, you get Lanier and Daryl Dawkins against each other, and literally they'd be like chest bumping each other in the middle of the play. They're pounding for position down low. In the NBA, that was allowed. In European ball, that was not. But in the NBA, the elbows are were always a big thing. They've never been really allowed since the 50s. Whereas in European ball, international ball, the occasional elbow swing was not looked upon by the ref. They would let them go. It would get really aggressive with knees and elbows, but you weren't allowed to outright body. Whereas in the NBA, you could outright body guys, but you couldn't throw knees and elbows. Then the European leagues started cleaning up their act because they saw when the first European teams players would come to the U.S., we'd kick their butts. So they decided they needed a more fluid type of play to mature their games. And that's what they did. They started going with more offensive-minded big men, less of the physicality, and they actually got soft. And now it's come back around. It's starting to get more physical again. Now, the thing with the international court really favors the little man with the trapezoid lane, closer three-point line, and the court being just a tiny bit shorter, basically one stride shorter. And a small man gets up to speed faster than a big man. So where you think it actually helps the big man with a smaller court, it actually helps the little man because the little man rarely goes basket to basket. The little man plays between the free throw lines. All right. And when you are quicker you have the advantage in international ball because of the spacing is not quite the same.
Yeah.
And because of where the post players have to be located because of the trapezoid lane, the big man is always one step closer to the little man. So you get more steals. You get more mishandling of the ball by big men, especially in the post. You get more delayed fast breaks in international ball because you'll have a made basket, you'll turn the ball in, throw the ball in, and because of the situation of where the defenders are running to, because of the shape of the lines on the court, it leads to more often getting a one-man advantage getting down the court.
Mm.
And it's hard to describe without actually having a picture of the court to understand what I mean. But when we're offenses, like remember there was the talk about the bull on the court at Chicago Stadium,
Yeah.
how they
Yeah.
moved it down to the elbow, just inside the elbow, and that was like the point of where the triangle
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
would begin. Well, with the trapezoid lane, it's similar. So the post, you're not posting up where our low block is on a rectangle lane. The post is actually 5 feet swung out at an angle, which brings you not only closer on the shorter court, you're basically 2 steps shorter to get to that point, but you're also 1 step farther out, which means if the defender if your offensive big man gets down there fast and the defensive big man has to cover him man on man, it actually leads to a delayed fast break where you can have a runner streaking right down the center of that trapezoid lane. And you'll see it if you watch international ball, you will see it a lot. The delayed fast break, 2 diagonal passes and a layup in the center of the court. You'll see it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one difference. And the guys in the NBA don't, I'm guessing. Now, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know these guys. I don't know how often they practice defending that. I know if you watch the Dream Team games in '92, a lot of the baskets they did give up were exactly what I just described. Because they didn't understand you have to pick up your man defensively at a different point on the court. You have your natural, like all of us know, right? When you're playing, wherever you're playing, your team scores, you get back on D, you turn around or you backpedal to a certain point, and then you stop and you look for your man to D up, right? Everyone does the same, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You run down the court to a certain spot, and then you turn and you look for your guy to D up. You do that in international ball and you don't understand the difference that the court shape makes, you get burned because you're not standing in a place where you can stop that diagonal cutter from the hash mark straight into the basket because of the trapezoid lane and your guy standing in a different place. And like I said, I don't know if y'all are following what I'm saying without actually having a diagram of the court to explain it.
Yeah. Nick, do you have anything to add, or and then Robin put his finger up, but I just know Nick hasn't talked in a while. Do you have anything to add before Robin says something? You're muted.
I was going to say he was mentioning how the stereotypes kind of flipped on international players versus NBA American players, and like he's definitely right. I remember Dirk for the longest time he had to shake that sort of soft international label that he had, for much of his career until he finally got over the hump, and that was definitely the stereotype at the time, right?
Shout out to 2011 Dirk.
Yeah, so definitely, like I definitely remember him. That was one of his biggest things, is that he's soft, he won't go down low, etc. Right, and it's kind of turned around where, yeah, Luka on several occasions has said that it's way easier to score in the NBA than it is international play. So, yeah, I was just gonna kind of reiterate what he said. But yeah, international ball, I don't keep up with it enough, to be honest with you, to to give a breakdown like Rex just did. That was pretty good.
Yeah, real fast before you go, Robin. I agree. I think it's interesting how that dynamic, that reputation of European players being soft is completely flipped on top of its head for the the common folk that follow the game. I think it's absolutely hilarious that now it seems that the NBA is soft, and I won't go down that because I'm going to just reiterate some points that everyone said. What were you going to say, Robin?
Yeah, so I just wanted to hit home on what I was saying. Like, when I'm talking about, them being soft, the European players, I'm not necessarily calling them soft, individually, or saying that the European players were soft as people or something like that. What I'm saying here is that the style of play that the NBA had, that they allowed to be had up until they started, with all this nonsense, what it lent itself is to not allowing people to just come over and play a certain way. So what happened when Rex is talking about how the Europeans, it flipped and flopped? We must remember, a lot of times, oftentimes, the amateurs that the Americans were playing with were children, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. They were often playing against seasoned veterans of professional basketball for years overseas. So we must understand the mindset that is a complete difference there. So when they're talking about being physical, right, they were physical, the European players, against kids, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, when these guys were 23, 25. Some of these guys are 30 years old, man, beating on 18, 19-year-old kids. This is what the Americans were going against, and yet and still we were still winning. And what happened when the Americans were allowed to put the professional Americans on the court? You saw what happened. It didn't matter what these guys could do or would do or how great they were. It was obliteration by epic proportions. 40-plus points a game these guys were beating the guys by, man. They were taking pictures with these guys before the game and obliterating them. This is why it was such a big deal when the Americans got the bronze medal. That's why it was like, oh, my God, what are we doing here? Because there's no way, I don't care what these guys are doing when people try to say, well, they caught up to us. I don't want to hear that. That's an excuse that we're allowing right now that should never be allowed. Basketball is America's sport. It's our sport. We dominate this, man. They want to be like us. There's no way they catch up to us. We should be the ones to be showing improving all the time, man. But what happens now, the style of play and the mentality of these guys has gotten soft. So what do you have? Guys don't want to show up and compete. Or guys come out, go through the motions, and think they're just going to show up and beat these countries. No. Back in the day, we didn't take it for granted. We showed up and gave it our all. We respected the competition. The Americans didn't beat them by 40 by accident. They went out there and gave it their all. These guys today take it lightly. They think it's a joke. Oh, we're the Americans. No, you've forgotten. These guys are professionals. They have pride. They're going to compete. And we've forgotten about that.
Yeah, no, I want to add on to that. Especially with this the FIBA basketball that happened recently. It was, in my opinion, it was absolutely embarrassing. And LeBron is trying to act like he is the savior of international basketball because he's going to make the team and show the world how the Americans are the best. Man, if you really cared, you would have went to FIBA. Come on, man. Let's get real.
Hey, I got a point when you finish.
Yeah, no, you could go. That's essentially the point without me, cooking.
Right. So speaking on that right now, I'm going back like Robin said when they finally let the NBA established stars players, like it wasn't even close. Like I was reading an article that they never called a timeout. The entire time from start to finish, all their games, they never had to call a timeout. Because that's how dominant we were at the skill set of the game and playing the game the correct way. Now, when we transition on to 2000, I believe it might have started to kind of get a little closer, but we still won. Now, 2004, granted, Larry Brown, I don't know if you guys know this, he's on record of saying he could have took his 04 Pistons team over there and they would have brought the gold back. I believe him. I mean, seeing the coaching genius that Larry Brown has and what he did with those Philadelphia 76ers and the Pacers, and then, of course, with the Detroit Pistons, I'm not going to tell him that he's wrong because I honestly believe they would have went over there and won the gold because that team that he had played as a collective unit. You didn't have the egos. You didn't have I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. No, you had an intelligent point guard. You had a 2 guard that could just run your opposing guards into the ground due to his stamina and his shot making ability. Then you had Rasheed Wallace, a stretch 4, had rim protection, Ben Wallace that could clean up like offensive rebounds and put the ball back up, or defensive rebounds, taking a possession away from the opponent. And then you pretty much had the Spider-Man, Tayshaun Prince, who could guard anybody 1 through 4, on your teams, on the opponent's offensive guys, or like from the point to the power forward. So I'm just looking at that aspect, and it's like, okay, you send those guys over there in 2004, but to me the mix, it just, I didn't like how they put that squad together. It's like, yo, y'all ain't really got the high IQ guys to go over here and get it done. Then in 2006 in the FIBA tournament, same thing. Now when you bring in Jason Kidd, high IQ, Chris Paul, on the come up, but not necessarily just established yet, right? Then you got, of course, Kobe Bryant, the defensive anchor, who told Coach K, I want to guard your other team's best perimeter player. It always starts on the defensive side. And when they went over there and showed them, hey, no, we are going to take back the mantle and bring back the gold, it's like, okay, this is how we're supposed to play the game. And like you said, Dart, they've gotten away from that because they're too caught up in, oh, am I shooting 50% from the field, or how many threes am I getting up? And I'm sorry, that type of style, like Rick said, is that's only conducive to Golden State. And they don't strictly shoot 3 ball. Like, they shoot mid-range and low post, but they're known for the 3. And the way the game is being played right now, I don't see them winning because they don't have a Kobe Bryant, they don't have a Jason Kidd. I don't know who's going to be the coach. I'm assuming it may be Coach Pop, but I still don't see the requisite pieces to go over there and compete, much like they did back in the Gap when you had Kobe, you had Kidd, of course, the MJs and the Pippins and Magics and the Birds and so on and so forth. Like, I just don't see it, but, who knows? They may prove us wrong.
Rex or Nick, you have anything to add to that, or have something to say in regards to that?
No, not really. I don't watch the league now, so I have no idea what players we have that translate well to international play. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I got it. So this fundamental question here. So obviously the big men are back, and there's been a very great history for big men in the NBA. Do you think that this is going to be a long-standing trend, that big men are going to be in the league, how it has been for the majority of NBA history? Or do you think it will fluctuate to a more small man-centric superstar league that it has been relatively for the last, you can even say 30 years? But do you think it's going to transition all the way back and have that trend of the big man being the star of the league, or at the very least, the best player in the league? We'll start with Nick.
Oh, that's a good one. There's sort of there's kind of a paradigm, right, where you would say the big man probably has the better odds to win the MVP, be the best player in the league, etc., right? Be the most influential player on the court. Mm-hmm. But most people are not 6'10", 7 foot, right? Most people are 6 foot to 6'5" who play basketball, right? Semi-competitively. So it's sort of like an odds thing where I kind of just lean to the guards still a little bit, because just more people, right? You just get a bigger pool of talent and options of someone just being a superstar like a Jordan or something, being able to do it all both ways, compared to just the rare big man, the rare freak of nature who has everything, but can he stay healthy? Can he be dominant enough? He still has to statistically output and win, right? And there's just less of those guys who are freaks of nature like that. Just as a betting man, I would probably stick to the guards a little bit. I'd probably hedge my bet that way.
Rex, you didn't speak up in the last little block. What's your take on this before Hoopgod and Robin get their chance?
Well, the big man has always been there. It's just what trends are happening at any particular time where teams decide and coaches decide to focus. I mean, Jokic and Embiid, and these guys didn't just trip and fall out of nowhere yesterday. They've been in the league for years. They're going to be in the league for many more years. And others are coming up. Wemby came up at first. He was playing on the perimeter. And they were losing 16 or 18 in a row. Then Pop moved him to center, where the 7'5" guy or 4, however tall he is, that's where he belongs. Now he's playing much better. It's always going to be that way. And you don't have to have the athletic freak to dominate as a big man. We've already shown, Moses dominated for years just off pure hustle. Jokic now is not a fantastic athlete. It still comes down to who can play basketball better. It still comes down to that. And if you have two guys like both Jokic and Doncic are both European players, one's a mid-size, one's a big man. They're both at the top of their game right now. Which one is being more successful in the team atmosphere? The bigger guy. This goes back to Red Auerbach's box, old axiom. You always take the bigger guy. That has never changed and it never will, because the basket is still 10 feet high.
Mm-hmm.
A guy that talent-wise is an 8, but is 7 foot, is still going to be better than any mid-size or small guy that's a 9. Mm-hmm. Purely because of where he's going to be at on the court and what it takes to defend him. Because you can defend a great small guy with another great small guy, a very quick, bigger guy, or an exceptionally elite big man. But a dominant big man can only be covered and negate his advantages negated by another dominant big man. It's not about what happens on offense with your team. It's what the defense has to do to stop you. And the only thing that stops a dominant big man has been proven to be another dominant big man.
I just to interject, I'm intrigued by I don't want to say it's quite a rivalry at this point, but I love seeing the Embiid Jokic matchups. I think that for me, that's the most exciting thing to watch in basketball personally. But I also have a bias towards big men because that's generally what I played. So I find it more interesting than maybe others do. But yeah, I mean, it's always fun to see. Well, not that either one is. Each of them are better in certain ways than each other, but they're both extremely talented and on the top of the list of the big men in the NBA right now. So I totally agree with that. Robin and Hoop God, either of you have anything to say about this?
Yeah. What you were saying about Embiid and Jokic, like, excuse me, I actually like the rivalry because it's good for basketball. You need to have that protagonist, antagonist, good guy, bad guy, however, because if you look through the annals of history, right, you had Russell Chamberlain, right? Then you had Chamberlain and Abdul-Jabbar before Chamberlain retired, and then it was kind of like Chamberlain going against, I mean, not Chamberlain, but Kareem going against Willis Reed and Kareem going against Moses Malone and Bill Walton. So you always kind of had those big men rivalry. Then we get up to modern day with Hakeem and David Robinson and the Patrick Ewings. It kind of it took a downturn in the 2000s, not to digress, because I think that was the era of the power forwards and the wing guys starting to emerge. But then we get back to the mid 2010s and Embiid gets drafted, Giannis gets drafted, Joker gets drafted. And this is what I like, Dart. I don't like all this, hey, let's be buddy. Like, let's have a nice competitive rivalry on the court. Like, I want to beat you. I don't want to be friendly with you. After, off the court, all right, hey, we can, whatever. But I don't want to see all this trying to be all chummy. Like, nah, we supposed to be competing. That's what the people want to see, you know. Not being dirty, not being malicious, but just good, healthy competition. And I like that because people are going to watch those games when it's like, oh, we got Nikola Jokic going against Joel Embiid. If you listen to the media when they're not, I would say, politicking for a certain player, quote unquote, they'll actually build it up, you know, to kind of give you that. Oh yeah, I got to check this game out because they're going to start talking about it like I'll say about a couple of weeks, then leading up to that week, then like 2 days before they play, like, hey, we got a big time matchup. We got two giants going against each other. Oh yeah, let me check this out because why? They gave you all that barbecue sauce. You know, they've hyped it up enough that you want to tune into it. So I actually like it, and just me being glass half full type of guy. Is that the optimistic? Yeah. I think the big man is here to stay because we got Wemby. That's the young one coming up. We got the established big men now that is Jokic, Embiid, Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, even though he's defensive minded and not to digress, but I hear people say, oh, Bill Russell couldn't play today. I'm like, so Rudy Gobert can play today, but Bill Russell can't? Yeah, I don't believe that. But I actually think it's here to stay because granted, you're going to have shorter guys, but also you're going to have those guys that come out of nowhere. Like we probably going to have another somebody they're going to compare to Wemby in the next 3 or 4 years. I mean, seeing that he's made it, how many more is out there that they just haven't discovered? You know, that's how I'm looking at it. But as far as like just the center in general, now that they're shooting threes and they're starting to play a more guard-oriented style, the guys who still play that traditional back to the basket, to me, my perspective, are still going to be the most successful because they're going to be like, okay, yeah, I can shoot this three, but let me get it going down here first. And then if they start to try to push me out, I can show them, okay, hey, I can hit this shot. And it's then kind of confuse their defense where you can get back to your, like where you want to be traditionally, back to the basket, operating in that mid to low post area and like just being a dominant force down there. Not on the level of Shaquille O'Neal, granted. But no, I think glass half full looking at it, I think it's still here to stay. But unfortunately, it's going to get overshadowed by the guys who want to dribble in between their legs 5,000 times. But go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, what you got to say, Robin?
What, did you ask a question or something? I'm sorry, I stepped off real quick, man.
Oh yeah, no. So I guess two things. So Hoop God had brought up his opinion on if the center is here to stay, but we were also talking about Jokic and Embiid, that rivalry. That was something that was a sidebar that we started talking about. What do you think about that rivalry, and do you think the center's here to stay?
Yeah, well, I was alluding to that earlier. That when I was saying Embiid, he's been ducking the smoke, and people have been getting on that, getting on him, for trying to duck out on those matchups, load managing. Just what we've been talking about. That's the thing with the load managing, is that we want to see these guys go against each other so that you can develop these kinds of rivalries, man. Back in the day when these guys were actually on the court every single night, that's how you develop a rivalry, by playing against each other every night. If you're not there, then there can't be a rivalry. I don't care if you get beat every damn time. Just be out there. They're not out there. So Joel Embiid, he just played the other night against him, and he dropped like 40 plus or whatever it was. And, everybody was pumping him up, and a great game for him. The problem for Joel Embiid is always going to be, what is he going to do in the postseason? What is he going to do when it's time to matter most? Because not only is his play decline in the postseason, he misses games in the postseason. That really hurts you. This is what I'm talking about, man, being out there on the court. And also we must think about, things like guys' personalities, charisma, things of that nature. When we think about someone like a Nikola Jokic, for example, and we think about, guys winning MVPs, or guys being the face of a league, or, guys not being the face of a league. And, you often hear people talk about, well, the European guys can't be the face of the NBA because they're European. I don't know if that's true or not. The problem with some of these guys, they don't have the personalities, man. I love Jokic, no doubt, man. He's very humble, and I get it. But he don't really have that personality to be the face of the NBA, man. I mean, he really just doesn't have that to me. He don't have the personality of Shaquille O'Neal in the 90s. Shaquille O'Neal was rapping. He was making movies. Whether or not that was good for his overall career, whether or not he was distracted and things of that nature, we can say, that may have hurt him. And Nikola Jokic is more focused on winning and stuff like that. but he's out there riding the horses and stuff like that, man. You know what I'm saying? So he just doesn't really have the swag or the personality like that. Even Giannis, he seems kind of clumsy and goofy to me when he speaks, you know, when he has his interviews. So are these guys going to be the face of the NBA? Are they going to be the guys that people are going to get behind to be the most popular players? And can they, you know, lead the NBA going into the 2020s and stuff, man? All those things, I think, you know, hurt some of these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I'm curious about to see, and this is all obviously hypothetical, but I think, and we were talking about it last week, how well would the centers of the 90s do in today's league? And actually, really, this is more of the pointed question. What really what do you all think of, made the transition from the big man not being on top of the league? Hoop God, if you want to start.
Wait, Dart, re-clarify that again. You said that
what took away from the big man's dominance that they haven't been dominant, quote unquote, in the league of lately?
So I don't want to blame him, but I do got to blame him. Wardell, Stephen Curry, okay, and in a good way though, in a good way, because when you add that element of shooting the three, optically it looks spectacular. So what does that make other guys? Well, I want to do that too, right? Now, that was his formula for success. That's not everybody's formula for success. I believe that played a part in it. And then when the league also the rule change, you know, when it started to get away from the hard-nosed defense and the low scoring averages and all that, and they wanted to open the game up more. I.e. Mike D'Antoni's 7 second or less offense. Now, that worked with a guy like Amari Stoudemire because he could hit that mid-range on the pick and roll, you know, or he could roll to the basket if he was, you know, in close enough and they over pursued on Steve Nash. Now, can every big man do that? No, I don't, because I don't want to see Shaq out there in the pick and roll with Steve Nash. Now, I can see Hakeem out there. I can see Patrick Ewing out there. I can see David Robinson, because those guys could hit that shot consistently. But Shaq, no. Shaq, I want you camped out down low, dominate and put all their other big men in foul trouble. That's how we gonna win. But I think that with the rise of that three ball and the spectacular handle, like Anthony Davis, for example, the guy is literally a center, but he wants to be a power forward and wants to be a stretch forward. And it's like, dude, I get it. You were a point guard and you had what, a 9-inch growth spurt. You got to understand in your mind, I am a center. Okay, it starts in the mind. I'm a center. Tell yourself you're a center. Play like a center. Go be a center. Stop trying to conflate your guard skills with you being a center, because when they played in New Orleans, I honestly think they allowed them guys to do too much. You had him and Boogie out there isoing at the top of the key, and I'm like, okay, that's good maybe 1 or 2 times, but that shouldn't be your primary offensive go-to move. Like, you need to be down low, or y'all need to be playing that low post, high post action. Like, there's no need for y'all to be at the 3-point line. But again, the era we're living in, and it's a copycat league, they want to shoot that 3 ball. But if they're the way I'm going to look at this, if they're dead serious on trying to compete in international play, first and foremost, they're going to have to go back to a low post oriented game, start operating that way and playing that way, and then intermixing the 3 ball in there. But just right now, I don't see it with the American kids, but with the international guys, I believe as long as we got them coming in, I believe the center will do just fine, barring anything catastrophic. That's my take on that.
Does anyone have anything specifically to say about that that's really hot?
Yeah, I mean, I think some other players too. I go a little further back and Jordan too, right? Jordan 6'6". People can relate to that. Like, do I have a 40-inch vertical? No, but I can hit a 1 or 2 dribble pull up going left or right. You know, I can hit a 15-foot turnaround, right? A lot of people identified with Jordan too, and in this era, we're talking about a big man, right? Jordan put the kibosh on him in a way. He kind of stole their thunder in large part. This great golden era of big men, and the best player was a 6'6" guard, right? So I think him, and I hate to say it, but Dirk a little bit too. I think the thought process of drawing out the big man with another big man who could shoot was also another sort of turn in the revolution in terms of playing a traditional big man style. If we can spread the floor, draw a double team further away from the basket or what have you, right, with that sort of play, I think that also was another nail in the coffin to the traditional big man sort of being forgotten or not looked at as much. And Curry, and of course Curry's like the final boss, right, of what the NBA has turned into, right? So in a good way, like you said.
Hey, but Nick, I will say what you've said about Dirk. To give him credit, that was his formula for success. Now, how often are we going to get a Dirk Nowitzki? Because I feel like he's an anomaly.
That's what I mean. Yeah, not often, for sure not.
Rex or Robin, what do you got to say about this?
Go ahead, Rex.
Okay. Well, all right. First of all, going all the way back to the merger, when it was ABA and NBA, the leading scorers were big men: Mel Daniels, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. With the merger, going from the merger forward, the leading scorers were almost always shooting guards, small forwards. Okay, you had George Gervin getting 4 scoring titles in 5 years. You had Adrian Dantley in there with 1, then getting 1 after. Then you had Bernard King. Then you had Jordan come in and getting all of his. All right, those were the guys that were the scoring champions. They were the ones that could do the most offensively individually. But until you got all the way up to Jordan in the 90s, and we're going from the merger, none of them ever won championships. The championships were won, with a couple exceptions, with dominant front lines. The 79 Seattle had a young Jack Sikma, but he was not dominant. They dominated with their guard rotation. Then you got to go 10 years later to the Pistons with their with Isaiah Thomas and Dumars as the main offensive players, but they still had Lambeer, who had led the NBA in rebounds, and then they had the great defensive play with Sally and Rodman. So the big men were always winning. The mid-sized guys were always individually exceptional, but it wasn't until Jordan that a team with the exceptional mid-sized guy started winning multiple championships. And at that point, it's a copycat league. At that point, GMs and coaches started looking for the next Jordan rather than the next Akeem. They saw it as this is a progression that's going to happen. But none of them had Tex Winter. So because you got to have the right offense for these things to happen. You just can't have the traditional basketball offense that had been ran for so many decades and say, okay, well, instead of giving it to the center all the time, we're going to give it to the small forward with the exact same pieces and expect a different result. It's not going to happen. So the big men upstairs started changing what they're recruiting for. And that's where we had mentioned the other day about they stopped filling the benches with exceptional basketball players who were maybe a little slow or a little small, but were great basketball players. And they started filling benches with a bunch of mid-sized guys that were outrageously fast, outrageously strong, with high vertical leaps, hoping that they could teach them 1 or 2 skills along the way, drafting these guys on potential. Okay? That's the way they went with it. And then, like you said, then Steph walked in, and now they're all talking about the 3-ball. It's so efficient. You got to do the 3-ball, 3-ball, 3-ball. But now, like I had said, we've had that whole 3-ball thing for like a decade now. And the only team that's actually succeeded with it is the one team that has the greatest guy ever at doing it. No other team that fashioned themselves in that way has been able to beat the big man teams. So now you're starting to get the reckoning of the front office again, where now they're saying, you know what? It's not working. Look at who's been winning lately. Look at the MVPs lately. Embiid, Giannis, Jokic. You know? And the next big centers that are coming up to the NBA in the next couple years are Canadian, and they're back to the basket big men over 7'3". That's what's coming into the league next. Okay?
Mhm.
So look for that. And then there's a younger guy, I believe he's Australian, that is also looks like he's still young, so we don't know, but he looks like he's following that same path, and he's a back to the basket big man. So you're going to start seeing it come back. It's what has always predominantly worked, because like I said, the basket's 10 feet high. No other sport is the goal 10 feet above the ground. So that changes the dynamic. Taller guys have the advantage. And then you get the guy like Jordan, who, like I said, if you have an 8 as a center, it takes at least a 9 or a 10 to beat him as a wing player, because you just have to go up against that height. Well, Jordan is the 10. He changed it, but only for his team. They thought it was going to be a new thing. They get Anthony Hardaway, they get Grant Hill, you get McGrady, you get these guys in here, Kobe, and they think you're going to be able to mimic what the Bulls did with Jordan, but it didn't happen. They still had to have the big man. They realized, they thought they could copy Jordan's dominance. They couldn't. There's only one. They thought they could copy Steph's dominance. They can't. There's only one. So now you're going to start seeing them going back to the traditional big man, because it all goes in ebbs and flows.
I got you. What do you got to say about this, Robin?
I mean, listen, it's Michael Jordan. He was the one who changed. Listen, Michael Jordan changed the game, guys. Let's be honest about this. He's the answer here. When you ask, why is the big man not around, or why is he coming back, so to speak? He was gone because of Michael Jordan. He was the guy who came in, who was selected third. Bobby Knight said, draft Michael Jordan and start him at center, because they were saying, I need a big man. This is the thinking. Once again, we're talking about the inside-out game of the NBA. So the answer is absolutely Michael Jordan, who changed the game and made people start to look for these kinds of players. Like Rex just said, the Penny Hardaways, the Kobe's, the Grant Hills, the Tracy McGrady's, all these kinds of perimeter players that would come in with the athleticism and the so-called skills or things of that nature. But when we're talking about changing the game, we must also think about the analytic push now with the NBA. And that's the problem right now, because what we're seeing in the NBA is not necessarily the problem I have is that people are playing a certain way. The problem is that teams are playing a certain way when they have no business playing that way. And what do I mean? Well, quite simply, you'll have teams chucking up 30, 40 threes pointers a game when they have no business shooting 20, 30, 43 pointers a game, because they don't have the personnel to be shooting that many threes. But why are they shooting them? Because the analytics say these are the higher percentage shots. Why would they take mid-range jumpers? But this is what we're watching now, and this is why it's not fun. When you have Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and a bunch of other guys who are known for being shooters, shooting and playing that way, it's not as bad to look at, because more likely than not, they're making these shots, right? They look good doing this. They're sharing the basketball. It was a certain style of play they had. They weren't just out there dribbling around like James Harden and chucking up threes. Steph Curry was coming off of screens. Steph Curry was moving around the ball. Klay Thompson was coming off screens. Draymond Green was passing the ball over here. They were passing the ball over there. They were leading the league in assists. They were doing that kind of basketball, sharing the ball like the San Antonio Spurs of the early 2000s. This is the kind of NBA you want to see. The 90s, the balance of the NBA is what we always talked about, man. The inside-out game. You had defensive specialists. You had big men, guards that could post up, guys that could run the break, guys that were high flyers, guys that were three-point specialists, coaches that ran systems. You had half-court traps, full-court presses. These are the things that was going on in the NBA, man. It was a balanced league. This is why people could watch it. Everyone had something they could latch onto, a player that they could like because of these guys and the way they played the game. Now what we're watching is guys shooting 34, 33, 32% from the three-point line. But what? They're going to shoot it 10, 12 times a game. For what? Instead, why not shoot 45, 46, 47% from the mid-range, and at least we get to see you make more shots than you missing. And this is the problem. Everyone can't be Steph Curry. Everyone can't be Michael Jordan. It's the analytics right now in the mindset of a lot of these coaches that wanted to, play this style of basketball when they had no business doing it, man. Play to your personnel, and the game will be much better. So if guys are going to go back to post-up games and things of that nature, go back to the mid-range, like a Kawhi Leonard or DeMar DeRozan, some of these guys, then that would be great for the NBA.
I want to add on to that. Yeah, it's absolute. Yeah. You deserve a round of applause for that.
That's the best one today. That was the best one today by far.
Yep. And I want to slightly piggyback on it.
Coming from Rex, that means a lot, man, for real.
I want to slightly piggyback on that. It's absolute because Michael Jordan dominated. That's the key word. He dominated the league, and he was so relatable with the marketing, with the shoes, the things that you can be like Mike with, that all of that made Michael Jordan so much more attractive, and people just wanted the next Michael Jordan. Even LeBron James now, it was called the next Michael Jordan.
And ain't got nowhere close.
But that's what I'm saying, is that he was so dominant. And because it completely changed the landscape. Basketball, in a way, was like a novelty with big men being dominated everyone. Let's see the Giants dominate everybody. And then Michael Jordan comes along and he makes it relatable and outside with the culture, like I just was talking about with the shoes, the commercials, the branding, everything. The domination is what, and it not that Michael Jordan's a small guy, but in respect to the novelty of him beating the giants that were in front of him, it made it so much more impressive and so much more relatable. So I won't take too long on it, but I just wanted to add that for emphasis. It's the domination of Michael Jordan that made I feel that trend happen and it be more relatable and people wanting the next thing like that. With that said, I think that the big man is here to stay. Does anybody not think that the big man is going to be here to stay? Or a sidebar question, which I want to relate this to. Do you see somebody that will be nearly as impactful, impressive, popular, and influential as Michael Jordan coming up in our lifetimes? Let's just put that kind of metric on it. I don't want to say ever, but in our lifetimes, do you think somebody will be like Mike coming into the league that will transition away the game from the big man, which I personally think, and I think we've all, if I'm not mistaken, have said that the big man's here to stay. Do you think it will transition back ever in our lifetimes? Let's start with Robin. You were on a hot streak there.
Yeah, no, I'll go real brief though. Listen, man, no one's gonna duplicate, Michael Jordan level success. That's just the honest facts, because when we talk about when Michael Jordan came into the NBA, it was literally a perfect storm. That's why I say a lot of times Michael Jordan was really meant and born to be the greatest basketball player of all time, or viewed that way by many people, because he came in at the perfect time. In the 90s, that crossover with the 80s into the 90s, man, there was no better time for you to come in and take over, right? Now, Michael Jordan had to come in and be that guy, right? He had to live up to the shoe deal. He had to make us want to be like him, right? So he had to also live up to the end of the deal, but he came at the perfect time. So I don't think anybody will duplicate that level of stardom. I mean, because let's think about it, to be honest here. To this day, Michael Jordan is literally the only superstar level person. I'm talking about person, not athlete, person, who does not really promote themselves on social media, never has, and somehow, some way, gains in popularity every single year. He doesn't fall off or stay at a certain level. Michael Jordan's legend just keeps rising and rising, even with the little kids. I work in an elementary school, man. I see kindergartners, first grade, second grade. They all get the Michael Jordan sneakers on. They're wearing the Michael Jordan 23 brand gear. They've never seen this man play basketball, but they know Michael Jordan. But all that being said, I really believe someone like a Nikola Jokic has the chance to be that guy as far as what he can mean to the changing of the guard, so to speak, and maybe transitioning the game into this, what we're seeing now. We're doing this segment right now on this kind of stuff, so the man's got 2 MVPs already. You can argue he could have won 3 in a row. And like you said, the way that he's kind of dominating a lot of these analytics, the quote unquote analytics of the game right now, is really unheard of because we know they didn't keep these stats for guys like Will Chamberlain and Bill Russell. So he's in essence doing a Will Chamberlain right now in this kind of era, if you think about it, what he's doing. So I think he could be that guy, but he doesn't have the personality to be a Michael Jordan. I don't think anyone's going to have all those things combined to really surpass what Jordan, meant.
Absolutely. What do y'all have to say about it in any order?
I think resume wise, absolutely. I think someone could, winning essentially 6 straight is going to be hard to do. But if someone won 7 and 10, 7 and 13 years or something like that, and, put up the gaudy numbers, which I think is possible, I think his resume is possible to beat or to be argued against. In our lifetime, someone might do it. The icon that is Jordan, that's hard. That's going to be really hard to do. That's the one I don't feel very confident about. But could paper someone put together some kind of resume that beats Jordan in our lifetimes? I could see that one. It'd be very hard to do, but in terms of the icon that Jordan is, I just think there will be Jordan, and then there will be anyone else who's in his sphere, right? Is kind of how is the best you could do, right? So, you're never going to beat the icon that Jordan has become, the shoes, the image, all of that kind of stuff. So, retiring and coming back, right? Like it's just crazy stuff, right? It's all just crazy stuff that he did. But on paper, yeah, I think it's possible, but the icon, definitely not.
All right. Rex, what's your thoughts?
Well, you got to look at what would be the next giant step to be taken, and then work backwards from there. Jordan took it global, right? He took a hugely popular North American game and promoted it worldwide. That the expansiveness, right? Well, what's the next expanse? Where's basketball at now? What's the next step? For it to then, the only thing left is for it to pass soccer. And that's a major, major achievement. To do that, it can't be an American player. American player is not going to grab the world like that to overtake soccer. It's going to have to be a foreign player. It's going to have to be a player that is able to do things athletically that we haven't seen before to catch people's attention. And he's going to have the success, which means he's going to have to be fundamentally sound, durable, healthy, and not get into trouble. That is a huge, huge undertaking. And I don't know if that human being will ever come around. Because even if the player comes around with all those credentials to pull the game to a whole new level, he has to be a basketball player and not play another sport. And anyone that's that adept will be adept at every other sport as well. So the odds are just so astronomical. I mean, look, you had Mike in first that made the game a popular game. You had Dr. J that made basketball mainstream, but it was still at the bottom of the pecking order of mainstream sports. Then you got Magic, Bird, their rivalry. That brought the NBA to the forefront. Then Jordan took it global. It's been global, but has it really gone up from there? Has the popularity exceeded where it was with the Dream Team overseas? Because I don't think it gets any bigger, to be honest with you. I think basketball is going to start eroding and descending. We're going to start hitting the backside of the curve because of overexposure and too much homogenization, too much manipulation of the rules for the sake of people watching the game instead of people playing the game. Because there are great games to watch and there are great games to play. golf is if you're good at golf, playing golf is fantastic. If you have the skill to do it, it's a great game. People will go out and play 36 holes a day. It is a fantastic, but it is the absolute worst thing to watch. But golf never changed their rules to make it more fun to watch.
Yeah.
They stuck with it. Basketball has done the exact opposite. They've changed all the rules for 40 years in an attempt to keep making it more fun to watch, to the detriment of the playing of the game. The modern philosophy of layup or three-pointer, because that's more efficient, you're literally cutting out half the court, which means the defense only has to cover half the court, which means your efficiency in those spots now doesn't exist because you're limiting yourself. The only time a three-pointer is more efficient is when the defense has to guard the mid-range. The only time the layups come as easy is when your big man has to be drawn out to the free throw line. It all works together. And until we get back to that, and maybe we are getting that, it's not going to increase.
All right. Hoop Guy, what do you guys say about all this?
Yeah, I wanted to echo what Rex was talking about with, like, it to me it was a perfect sequence, like how the timeline and everything lined up, because a lot of people don't know. I know you guys know this, but the NBA was on tape delay in the 70s. That's how bad it was. But again, Rex said it was at the bottom of the pecking order. Well, then you get Magic and Bird having still the highest. I think that's the highest rated game ever. That national title game that they had to this day.
Yeah.
So that's already prepping the NBA for what? Okay, we got the next big thing that now they can actually film these games live because that element of Magic and Bird. And then you finally get them to go head to head in the 84 finals. You know, it's like everything is happening like in a sequence that's leading up to Michael Jordan once he gets drafted. And it's like, okay, Bird and Magic dominated the floor game. Well, Michael Jordan, he dominated the air. Like, we've never seen anybody literally flying in the air like this. And then, of course, when he starts to win championships, when I look back on it now, I do believe that they had a certain way that they wanted to market Jordan, but I really believe that it exceeded their expectations. And it raised the bar so high that Michael Jordan's name has transcended sports. Like, now when I'm listening to the NFL, when they mention like Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, when he was talking to Julian Edelman, he was like, hey, you going for Montana? He said, no, I'm going for Jordan, right? Then you got guys saying, oh, Patrick Mahomes had a Michael Jordan flu game-esque performance when he came out with the injured ankle, won the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts, he's like, I heard his teammates say he has the Michael Jordan mindset. Like, he's always trying to get better at the game. It's like he's focused on improving every day. He's never satisfied. Even in practice, like if he throws a bad pass, no, run that play again. It's like he wants to perfect his craft. And I'm listening at that. Then you go to baseball, you hear Derek Jeter, Michael Jordan of baseball. You got Messi and Ronaldo, the Michael Jordans of soccer, Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan of hockey. It's like his name has transcended the other sports. So do I believe we're going to find somebody else when we factor all these variables? So we're going to say the on-court success, the marketability, the off-court success, the shoes. When you encompass all those things, no, I don't believe somebody's going to exceed that. I only believe that there's somebody that's going to be like, okay, he's the next Michael Jordan, or hey, he has that type of Michael Jordan aura. But I really just do not believe somebody's going to come along, because those are too many variables to try to put into one individual and to say, yes, he can surpass what Jordan has established. I don't see it. Now, if it does happen, 20, 30 years, may have to come back and recant my statement. But for right now, I don't think I don't think anybody's going to exceed that. Also, when Rex and also Rob, what you guys mentioned about the analytics, and see, I'm looking at it like this, right? Basketball, just like any other sport, it's a game of chess. You counter what your opponent does, right? If your opponent's coming out and shooting threes, well, You don't come out and shoot threes to counter him. No, you slow the game down. You go to the post. You dictate the pace. You incrementally do what? Take the momentum from them. But if you come out like the Rockets and like the Cavs in 2017-18 and try to outshoot your opponent, you're going to lose. Flat out. Like, you're not going to outdo your opponent at what he does best. Because if you look at the New England Patriots, I never liked the Patriots, but I can't knock their success. What was their number one motto? I'm gonna take away what you do best. The greatest boxers, what do they always say? I'm gonna take away what you do best. So now if I take away this 3-ball, what can you do now? You haven't practiced the 3-ball, so now you're like the deer in the headlights, like, well, what do we do? What do we do? Well, if you've only been trained to just take threes and layups, you're gonna keep doing that, but you're gonna lose. Because a team like the Spurs, they're gonna capitalize off of your mistakes. A team like the Warriors, capitalizing off of your mistakes, because you're only dead set on taking threes and layups rather than diversifying your offensive attack and getting into the pick and roll and the high post and low posting and mid-range and countering what your opponent does. See, when you can mix up your attack, your opponent don't know where it's coming from, but if they know, okay, this team just want to shoot threes and layups, well, we can stop that. Like you said, Rex, they're limiting their offensive options, so it's gonna make it easier defense. And then when you guys mentioned about the advanced analytics, one of the things I like about Jokic, he doesn't care about that. He's dominating the advanced metrics, and he could care less. It's like if the reporter says, "Hey, Nikola Jokic, do you know you've been having 8 games of consecutive triple doubles?" Okay, are we winning? That's what he's concerned with. Are we winning? I don't care about all these numbers. Unfortunately, we got these guys in the league now. Their whole motto is, I got to keep my numbers up. I got to be efficient. I got to do this. Go ahead. You're not going to win. The guys.
Yeah, but we got to be fair now. That is how the collective bargaining agreement has woven the individual awards into their pay grades. Okay, that's not the individual players' greediness. That's how the Players Association has bargained for their pay.
Okay.
To be a max player, you have to lead the league in a category. You have to be all NBA 2 out of 3 years and stuff like that.
That's an incentive, though, Rex. That's an incentive. That's not an incentive to stat pad. If you're in the game when your team up 20 points and you're in the game still, but then on the flip side, these guys will talk about they don't want to risk injuries. Then why are you in the game when you're up 20 then? You can risk an injury. You're trying to get some stats right there. So incentives are one thing, Rex. That's not what we're talking about. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. But see, that's my thing. Like, when you got the guys who don't care about all that, to me, this is just me, I'm going to watch them because I know they have a winner's mindset. Now, I know they do have certain collective bargainings, like that you got to meet these marks, and I do understand that to a degree. However, the guys who are going out there just to play to win, I'm going to watch them because they're giving me a better product that I will sit down and look at, like much like Rob said, versus a guy who, oh, we're up by 20 points. Well, let me make sure I'm keeping my point per game average or my point total output. Like, nah, I ain't really interested in that because to me, that's an eyesore. That's what's turning the viewers away. Like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I want to see competitive basketball. These guys going out there, laying it all on the line and may the best man win. I don't care about a guy going out there, hey, how are you doing in the finals? Well, I'm having a triple-double, but you're down on 3. Nah, something don't sit right with that picture. But that's my take.
Hey, real quick, I got to go. I appreciate everybody's time today, as usual.
All right, and for everybody that is not familiar with NB Sports, if you like his takes, go to his page, like and subscribe everything that he's got going on, and check him out. Yeah, but thank you for coming, Nick, and I'll see you on the flip side. Let's see you next week.
Bye, guys. Y'all have a good rest of the day.
Yep. So I wanted to add to that with the icon. So I don't want to say it's in the realm of impossibility that somebody could eclipse Michael Jordan's icon. And I mean, I can envision it, and I hope that somebody can be close to what he did for the NBA and what he did for basketball. But I agree that it's going to be it has to be a perfect storm. It has to be like what Rex is talking about and what we're all talking about, that it's kind of going, that the NBA is kind of going on a downward trajectory right now in respect to fandom popularity and appreciation. There's a lot of complaints about the NBA versus years of the past. You can look on paper and say, well, it's doing better. Well, a lot of that is just fans in China and the Philippines, and I'm not saying they don't count. They do count, and that's great that it's growing in that aspect. However, for American fans specifically, a lot of people have complaints for how the game is going. A lot of people critique LeBron for his flopping, just as one example, let alone just people just kind of going through the motions with the All-Star games and everything like that. My whole point with that being said is that I think the center will be here to stay. I think there needs to be somebody on the level that is of Michael Jordan-esque or Kobe Bryant-esque to a lesser degree outside of the icon, although Kobe Bryant was iconic. I would hope. Now, I'm not saying that it would make Michael Jordan less of the GOAT to me, but I hope there's somebody like him that comes along in the future that projects and trajects the game larger again, like Michael Jordan did, because I love basketball.
Yeah.
To answer my own question, will it happen in our lifetimes? That I hope so, because that would be great to see.
Hey,
If
Doug,
I had to say, I would probably say no, though. What's up?
I know I wanted to say no, and that's one thing I left out, and thank you for saying that, because you do want somebody to push the game forward. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
But outweighing the possibility of it happening, that's where it's kind of like, okay, I don't know. It's up in the air. But I just wanted to add in on that part.
What's up, Robin?
Well, no, I'll just say to what you guys are saying, I'll say, as far as like, wanting somebody or hoping that one day maybe somebody would come and surpass Michael Jordan. The thing about it is this, man. When we talk about Michael Jordan and we have this feeling and we talk about some overall generalization in society. I know Rex doesn't believe that you can have, the greatest overall player in a team sport and things of that nature. But when we talk about society, right, and people viewing him that way, right, that's a societal fact, right, that people view him that way, right? So if that's the case, then, and we're thinking about these things, the reason that they feel this way is because of the way that Michael Jordan carried himself on the court with class, with integrity, with honor, with respect, things of that nature. He earned that title by the people. We labeled him as this such person. So it's going to take a hell of a lot to eclipse him. And I don't believe that it's wrong for us to say or to feel that if we're going to put Michael Jordan up there, there's a reason why he's up there. Because we feel that it's going to be very hard for someone to come and surpass this person, because we feel that he's been this great as opposed to all the other players that people have seen throughout the NBA's history. We can feel this strongly about this one particular player. This isn't a close vote with somebody else that we might think, oh, maybe it's this guy, maybe it's that guy. No, it's Michael Jordan by a landslide. So for me personally, I don't care if no one ever surpasses Michael Jordan. Not because of me. I'll be long dead and gone by that point. I don't really care. I have nothing to do with this, really. But it's the sake, and it gives people the bar. That's the bar. But for some reason, we have lowered the bar here. And that's the problem. No one lowered the bar for Michael Jordan to go above it. No one lowered down Magic Johnson or Larry Bird or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Bill Russell or Will Chamberlain or Dr. J or Jerry West, Oscar Robertson. No one lowered these guys to raise Michael Jordan above them. What was always said was that Michael Jordan did what people never seen before. He was that great. So they put him above them. So we can't lower the bar. That's how high the bar has been set. The 6-0 record, Nick said something before. I didn't want him to go before I could say something to him. He said something that was interesting to me about, someone surpassing Michael Jordan's resume on paper and what it would take to do that. That would take a hell of a lot, man, because not only are we talking about the paper, Michael Jordan came into the NBA essentially and was an MVP in his rookie season. The things that he was doing, and also he maintained that level for a long period of time. A lot of other players had drop-offs, and they didn't have all the other intangibles, the personality, the charisma, the marketability, the leadership, the toughness, the grit, the durability, the heart, all those things wrapped into one player, the athleticism. So for me, when we talk about that, that goes to the Michael Jordan and the greatness that we were talking about, man, and everything else.
Rex or Hoop Guy, you got something to say about that?
No. Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, that's just what I was saying before, that to surpass what Jordan was able to accomplish globally, iconically, not just on the court, but for basketball in general. It was a perfect storm, like Robin said. And for everything to line up to be the perfect storm to take the NBA to the next highest tier, the chances of that person coming along at exactly the right time and having the right business leader in place to take advantage of it in the right way, I think we can say that Silver is not that guy. Okay, the golden era of the NBA started
Rex,
when
please say that one
Stern
more
took
time.
over,
Say that one more time.
and it lasted until Stern died. Okay, it was Stern that was the catalyst that said, we have this amazing guy. We have these other amazing guys. This is how we have to go about it. You know, there were other great, amazing players. And it's, you know what I mean? It's you got to have the right guy to be able to take it, to take advantage, not take advantage, but to capitalize and know how to promote these things correctly. I mean, Silver learned from Stern, but a lot of the stuff that he's doing these days is very un-Stern-like.
He's too progressive.
And it's not growing things. You know, you gotta have everything. It's gotta be like Robin said, the perfect storm. You gotta have everything in place. And I just don't see it ever happening again. It was a once in a not only lifetime thing, not lifetime of the people watching, but lifetime of the sport occurrence. You know? But you know, I just don't see it. I don't see it ever happening. Basketball has hit its peak, and they're just trying to hold on, trying to prolong it, keep the money coming in from a business standpoint. But the fact is, you get better basketball going outside down to the local park.
Yep. Hoop got it. It seemed like you want. I know you were saying some stuff. You want to add to this?
No, I was when Rex said that is not it. I was saying, Rex, please no. Silver, number one, there's a time and place to be progressive, but he's too progressive. There's something traditional. There's certain standards you got to keep tradition. Now, and the players shouldn't have a voice in certain things, yes. But if you allow them to start doing too much, it's going to start affecting the bottom dollar, i.e., this in-season tournament, all this other stuff. They don't even compete like they used to. There should be a standard there where it's like, hey, if you guys are not going to come out here and put out a product that we know is going to galvanize the viewers, okay, cool. We finna hit your pockets because we're not going to do this, right? You guys can have a voice, but you also got to understand there's a hierarchy in place. Follow that mode like they did with Stern. It never fails. You're going to see it, and it's going to be a dramatic, like you're going to be like, oh my God, what's happening? You're enabling your subordinates to a certain extent. And that's why you have a president, you have the executive officer, and so on and so forth, managers, supervisors. And I don't see that right now. And I believe that's one of those the biggest reasons why. And I'm glad you hit on that.
Yep. I don't know if you're laggy on our end. I don't know if you cut out or not, but I don't know if you're still talking, but it stopped. But
no, I muted my mic.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, and yeah, I agree. I think that it has to be the perfect storm. Not to, because I had said that. I hope that somebody in the colloquial term could be like Mike. It would be great to see. I would hope that we see somebody that has the appeal, the power, the mystery, the influence, like Michael Jordan did. And that's something, too, on a sidebar. This isn't really much about basketball, but I think, like you guys are saying, I think a lot of people don't leave that mystery to the world anymore, a lot of these athletes, like Michael Jordan does. And I think that kind of affects their popularity in a way, too, because if you just say, well, I ate this for lunch, people care less about you, in my opinion. But in ways you profit off of it, too. So I get why they do it. I'm not saying that, but So I'm going to just question the panel. You know, we usually do this or open the lines up. Are you guys interested in taking callers? If not, we don't have to do it. That's fine. I'm just asking impromptu.
Yeah, that's cool.
I always am.
Yeah. You down?
Can
You guys
I
down?
mention two things I noticed real quick?
Sure.
Because they
Yeah.
have to do what's in the comments. Okay, somebody mentioned in the comments that LeBron never won with a dominant big.
Uh-huh.
Okay, LeBron is 6'9", 260. He is the dominant big. Okay, so that's out the window.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure everyone noticed that Hoop God has mentioned 3 NBA coaches during this broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
They're the last 3 generations of the golden lineage of coaching.
Yeah.
All right, with Larry Brown, Popovich, and Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
Basketball is a
Absolutely.
lot smaller than people think.
A lot smaller.
For anyone that wants to call in, I dropped a link in the chat. If you have a question for anybody or want to add something or be a contrarian, you're welcome to call in. It is in the live chat right now. But yeah. No, I think this has been a great subject because I think a lot of people just like to see the quote unquote sexy things on TV, and the big man oftentimes is not. So but I do think that they're coming back because I think there is so much of a reliance on the analytics just to put this stuff out there like that. That it has corrupted and hindered the game for what it could be. People just, and I know it was mentioned that the mid-range game is coming back to a certain respect. However, you know, if you look at a shot chart, what is heavily, circled? It's somewhere along the 3-point line, particularly the corners, and then under the basket. So you know, I'm happy that it's coming back in some respect. It doesn't seem like anybody is wanting to call in so far. We have a lot of people in the room. I think this is the biggest, and I like this restream that Nick and Robin, and I'd have to say, I'm sure a majority of these people are Robin's fans, but I think it's great just to have this audience because I think that's kind of the point. I just wanted to put that out there. I want to thank all you guys from the live chat coming. From whatever channel it was. There's people from my channel that are in here. I'm sure there are people from Nick's channel that came in here, and Politicus Rex's channel that have come here with his 58 subscribers. No, but yeah, no, I think this is great. Oh, and just if anybody's interested in calling in, I put the chat in there, but I want to give some heads up. Somebody had mentioned that I should invite Angry Old Hoops here. I have invited Uncommon Sense, and as of right now, we're in discussion, but we're looking at the Sunday of, I believe it's February 4th. So that's somebody else that is, fairly popular on YouTube that will be coming to the show soon. And I am interested in reaching out to Angry Old Hoops and others. I like to classify myself as the Nick Fury of Michael Jordan fans to collectively get a Michael Jordan YouTube channel powerhouse together like the Avengers. Anyway, yeah, but
I don't know who that is.
Uncommon Sense.
No,
okay.
Fury.
Oh, Nick Fury. He's a comic book character. It's
Yeah, he's from the Marvel universe.
Yeah, he put the Avengers together. That I don't know if you know who the Avengers are, but he collects. He organized a superhero conglomerate that's saved the world and universe and all that sort of stuff.
Hey, Dart. I think you would have to consider us like the Avengers and DC combined because we got so many heavy hitters. That's fair to say.
No, you're right. I agree. I just don't know who the Nick Fury in DC is. I know they have the Justice League, but I don't know if there's an actual guy like that. But I've dropped the link. I mean, we've got 53 people at least in this room.
Hey, let me say, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Yeah.
About what we've been talking about. I just want to go back to what we were saying when we were talking about the the stats and things of that nature and guys and how they play. And we're talking about how the game has changed. And we were talking about how the game back in the day, in the past eras, nowhere in particular, but the balance. I can't emphasize the balance when I'm talking about the balance of the way the game was played, man. There was a flow to the game, man. And when we talk about that balance, we're also talking about the way that the players played the game. They all knew their role. See, when we was growing up, man, we used to talk about role players. And when we spoke about role players, we spoke about it with pride. And that was not a disrespectful term. There was nothing wrong with being a role player and playing your role and helping your team win by playing your role to a certain level, right? So when we talk about these guys and we talk about stats and guys' numbers, and some of these guys don't have numbers, and you hear people try to denigrate some of these past players, what do they point to? Their lack of statistics or their lack of accolades. That's because they played their role. They didn't go and do anything that they weren't supposed to be doing to try to jeopardize the team's consistency and the way that they were trying to approach the game. So they played within their role, and they did that role to a T. So when you look at their numbers, it may not jump off at you, but when you watch the game, the impact was there for them. So, for example, when guys are overplaying at point guard, let's say, right, they're going to run a play, right? The coach calls a play out. So the man who's guarding the point guard is overplaying him. He has his back to his man. He's dribbling the ball like a Mark Jackson or somebody. Mark Jackson's going to run that damn play. It doesn't matter if the man's overplaying him, where maybe he can go right by him now because the man's overplaying him. He's going to run the play. It doesn't matter. So he's going to run the damn play. They're going to run their play. Things like that are going to happen. He's not going to do something out of character because the guy's overplaying him, let's say, on the perimeter. He's going to run the play. When you had guys coming off the bench and they were the sixth man, let's say, and they were going to come in, these guys had different roles. Not every sixth man came in and was going to be Vinny the Microwave Johnson and score 10, 15, 20 points in a couple of minutes and get hot like that. Not every man's going to be a Manu Ginobili coming off the bench. Some of these guys were going to come in and give you the heart, the grit, the hustle, the rebounds, the dirty plays. You know what I'm saying? The PJ Browns. Some of these other guys in the history of the NBA, these guys have come off the bench. We talk about a John Sally for the Detroit Pistons. He wasn't a starter. He's coming off the bench and he's doing other things. He's impacting the game. These guys played their roles, man. So I can't emphasize this enough, man. We talk about the balance of the game and these other eras. These guys, they played their positions, man. These guys were not 7-footers standing on the perimeter like a bunch of idiots, man, digging in their butts, man, because this is what the analytics is telling them to do. They played what they were supposed to be doing, man. And it pisses me off when I see a lot of this nonsense about people crapping on the past eras, and they go immediately to these guys and their lack of accolades or their lack of statistics, but they're not understanding how the game was played. These guys were there to play a role, and playing that role allowed these teams to be great when these guys could have left in free agency and try to become their own player on another team to get their stats. They played and did what they were supposed to do in the capacity that they were supposed to do it.
Yep. Yeah, and then another guy I like to mention because and let me admit my bias because I had to go research him. I'm talking about Bill Russell. When I was like, I would say when I was getting in my nation stages of having these like basketball discussions, because I would always let these guys do this. Like when we're talking about, of course, Jordan and the other guy, they would say, "Oh, well, Bill Russell must be the GOAT. He got 11 championships." And I didn't realize that I'm letting these dudes manipulate me, right? So once I started researching Bill Russell, and I'm like, okay, well, Bill Russell really was the ultimate team player because 1962, I'm looking, he led the Celtics in scoring in the playoffs. 1961, he was second in scoring by a 0.6% difference. Tommy Heinsohn only averaged 19.7. Russell was 19.1. So he wasn't far off. And then in 1965, he led them in assists while still giving you a double-double in points and rebounds. And I'm like, wait. I can't let these guys do this. So once I started researching Bill Russell, doing my due diligence, it changed my perspective because, like you said, Rob, there's a team aspect, right? You can be a great individual player, cool, but can you adjust your game to your teammates and still be dominant? Because to me, I feel like that's what separates the good guys from the greats.
Yes,
all the greats.
That's what people look at individual stats and go, "Oh, he's a great player." No, if you're a great player, you're meshing with your teammates because it's a team sport. It's not boxing. It's not tennis. It's not golf. It's a team sport. How you mesh with your teammates is the ultimate. That is what it is about.
That's it. And then it's like you look at Jordan, right? Now, I always give Pippen his props. In that first three-peat, phenomenal. But the injury started, like, afflict him in that second three-peat, because if you combine 96, 97, 98, Pippen didn't even shoot over 40% from the field. So Jordan was really carrying them on the offensive side, playmaking, getting the assists, also playing defense, scoring in the first three quarters, like, at different spurts, but ultimately in the fourth quarter, knowing, okay, it's time for me to take over and bring the game home. Like, I'm looking at it now, like, Jordan was really carrying, because I hear this term, well, nobody's ever carried a team. I'm like, well, Michael Jordan literally carried the Bulls on that second three-peat. Now, granted, Dennis Rodman was, given the defensive rebounds and the defensive presence, but on the offensive side, there were times where Tony Kukoc was actually giving you a little bit more offensive production, because Pippen was dealing with those nagging injuries. And when I look at these things, it's like, okay, you can be a great individual player, but you have to modify your game to what your teammates do and allow them to help you in certain aspects. And when it's time to take over, you do your job and you take over. That's just my take on that.
Yeah, one thing I want to add with that is people like to say that, because I find it personally funny, and I won't go into reasons why particularly, but people are like, Michael Jordan was mean. Like, what is that to say that he's a bad teammate, dude? Like, do you know what holding somebody accountable has some hard truths, man. If you're not living up to what you're supposed to be doing and somebody calls you out on that, like, how is that a bad thing? Are you kidding me?
Well, what people don't realize is Bill Russell treated a lot of people the same way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened, just like with a lot of the Bulls teammates, once it was all said and done, they looked back and said, yeah, that was how it had to be. You didn't hear the sour grapes very often.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it was with the Celtics is, Russell was held above everyone else, just like Jordan was with the Bulls. There was a time when the Celtics were complaining. They had a road trip, came back, got back late because commercial flights, and the very next morning had a morning practice. And the team is running, except for Russell, who's sitting up in the stands reading the newspaper. And one of the team said something about it. And Auerbach blew the whistle, called everyone together at the middle of the court, and said, look, there's two sets of rules on this team. One for you and one for him. If you don't like it, I can trade you to Tri-City or, Milwaukee. I can trade you wherever you want to, I'll trade you to Syracuse, Rochester, and you can go be a star there. Or you can play here and you can win chips.
Hey, Rick.
And really, Chicago had the same mentality, really.
Yeah. Hey, Rick, so I'm thinking of something that you said, and it's this quote that I heard. Exceptions are made for exceptional people, right? Because if you look at what you said about Bill Russell, think about Dennis Rodman. Who else besides Jordan or Pippen, probably not even Pippen, but definitely Jordan, could go to Phil and say, I need a vacation and go to Vegas, right? But when they did the runaround, Rodman clearly was still working out, because in the Last Dance, Jordan was like, we're gonna have to do the little Indian run and get it back in shape. But Rodman was like literally outrunning the whole team. So even though he was in Vegas partying, he still was working out. He still was in his normal routine. And
yeah, he's an amazing athlete. But to your point where you're mentioning Pippen in the second three-peat, yes, some of that was Kukoc essentially almost playing the same position in the triangle that Pippen did. So he lost some of his cachet, for lack of a better term. But if when I went back and started looking at numbers, Pippen really didn't play well with Rodman. I think there was a lot to the fact that he didn't like Rodman, didn't get along with Rodman really, always held a grudge from the Detroit days. Because if you look at a lot of the stats, and going across and look at a lot of the games, they didn't really gel like other great tandems, championship winning tandems did. There seemed to be a little thing there.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah. But Rex, you got to remember, Dennis Rodman is the one that gave Pippen that scar. So, he always held some type of ill will towards you. But, I mean, once Phil brought him on board and they had to sit down and basically was like, hey, this guy can help us win. They were all in unison on that, But no, you're exactly right. No, I saw that because I think Pippen, for him to be successful, he has to have a Michael Jordan type player. And remember,
he was never an alpha. He was never an alpha. Growing up, he was the odd player out. He was a late developer, went to a small school, big family. He was never the center of attention. He was never comfortable with the center of attention his entire life. He's shown that over and over and over and over and over in every decade.
Yeah. But then if you add in that Horace Grant element, see, Horace Grant could hit that little 10-footer, 10, 12-footer. Rodman couldn't do that. So I think that helped Pippen because Pippen could play make and get.
That's why they got Kukoc though.
Yeah. So when you get Kukoc, now you're bringing in that element that Rodman doesn't have. But no, you're absolutely right. That wasn't a good fit for Pippen. But when you can offset him with Kukoc, now it balances out. So yeah, I agree with you right there. That was a great point.
Yeah, well, that was something that people didn't think about when they're talking about in The Last Dance, how they were considering not bringing back Pippen because he had the injuries, and they were seeing that his career was not going to be, his peak was not going to be as long as Jordan's was. And they brought in Kukoc a few years earlier, and Kukoc was doing really well. They could see Pippen not being essential anymore and giving Kukoc a bigger role. Instead, with what happened, I believe Kukoc went to, was it Philadelphia?
Yeah.
And actually had some really great years. Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on that, but he had better years. Yeah, he had better years after the Bulls because he was still maturing as a player coming from overseas.
Yeah, absolutely. So I saw Jason the Kid. I'm not familiar with you. I don't think you've ever come on my live stream or commented, but you said that nobody could handle your takes. I've dropped the link multiple times if you'd like to come up here. But yeah, I'll do it again. Here we go.
Wait, he's shadow boxing.
What are his takes?
He's a contrarian.
Yeah, he's shadow boxing in the comments.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't reading. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah,
you've been reading it. You've been reading it,
dirty work.
Yeah. The live chat is keeping him in check, I guess. So.
Oh, okay. Hey, shout out to the chat, man. Shout out to the guys in the comments.
Yeah. But
okay, well, I don't even know what he's been saying. I haven't been paying attention. I'm sorry.
He's a LeBron fan, which is fine. If you like LeBron, that's cool. I just don't think I personally don't think you're correct if you think he's the GOAT. If you think he's the GOAT, yeah. What's up?
I don't understand. They say they think he's the GOAT or however, but yet they always bring up Bill Russell, they bring up Kobe, they bring up Kareem. I'm like, why are you bringing these guys up if LeBron is your GOAT? Like something, the math ain't matching. Like it's not matching. Because if I'm debating Jordan, I don't bring up nobody else. If I'm debating Tim Duncan, I don't bring up nobody else. So I'm like, what are we doing?
So
hey, who God? Here you go. Somebody bringing up, Bill Russell, he had all these Hall of Fame helpers.
Okay, so how come they couldn't win before Bill Russell?
They always say this. They always say the same thing. First of all, no player in history had any Hall of Fame helpers because you're elected to the Hall of Fame years or decades after you play.
I got a question for that guy since he brought up Bill Russell. So tell me, how come the Celtics couldn't win a championship before he got there? Tell me, how come the Celtics missed the playoffs as soon as he retired? And then also tell me this, how come in the 60s they were 7 games under 500 when he did not play? Just answer that question for me, Mr. Comments. That's all I want to know.
Yeah, and no, I think it's ridiculous. There's more contrarians here. But this is
Bill Russell has more MVPs than LeBron, by the way. Just throwing that out there in case you didn't realize.
That's true. Hey, Rick, that's a knockout shot, man.
Yeah,
Hey, Rex, you're supposed to give him a jab first before you give him the knockout blow.
I don't do that. Me and Dart had that conversation off air yesterday.
No. Real
I don't know how to fight.
Real fast, I had a debate. Is George Mikan greater than LeBron? If you don't agree with that argument, I understand why you don't. However, I made a very great case. I just wanted to bring up how they brought up Michael Jordan, Wilt Chamberlain, and I said in my first round, I said, can you make an argument without disrespecting the 40s and 50s that LeBron is better than George Mikan? And the guy, that's all he did the entire time. So, and he brought up other guys. He brought Michael Jordan into a George Mikan, LeBron James debate. And if you guys are interested and want to see, I'm not trying to be mean. I have not said anything mean about how well I did in debate. But if you'd like to see a clinic of debate, go watch my debate where I crush. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm sorry. I just did it. I'm sorry. I really did just crush him. But yeah, if you want to see somebody argue George Mikan over LeBron James and it'd be absolutely hilarious, go. It's on my channel. Go watch that.
Dart. Since he doesn't believe you, right? And I know LeBron James, they love numbers. Like it's almost like you're talking to an ITT guy because they always got these 28, 8, and 8, and all this, and that's cool. You know, I'm like, if you want to be a numbers guy, but you got to understand the numbers work both ways. Like there are numbers that suit their guy, but there's numbers that suit other guys. This is the reason why. So if we look up player efficiency rating in the playoffs, right? Old man Mikan, 28.51. Their guy LeBron James, 27.94. So these are the numbers that they love to use. George Mikan is higher in playoff player
efficiency rating. Yeah.
So I always ask if you guys love these numbers, but when we bring these numbers out that don't support you guys, now you want to change your argument. So which one is it? Because it's not making sense.
Yeah, exactly. What's up, Rex?
Well, the guy just said in the stats that the only competition Russell had was Wilt. Oh,
so he didn't play.
Shall we tell him a little story about Bob Pettit, the guy that actually beat Russell Celtics in the finals, which Wilt never did?
Come on, cook it up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just Nate Thurman, Wes Unseld, MVP and Finals MVP the same year during the Russell era. Yes, early on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mikan came back out of retirement, was still played well, but was a shell of his dominant self. And then he retired when Russell came in. Then Russell went all the way, and then he retired when Kareem came in. So you can go all through history. LeBron came in, Jordan retired right before LeBron came in. So, I mean, this is going throughout history. You can't pick your competition. You can only play who lines up in front of you. So this whole, I mean, for every person that sits there and says, well, Russell didn't have any real competition. They were all, Wilt played against 6'2" white guys. And Jordan played in an expansion league. And LeBron plays against whatever they say LeBron's playing against. You got every single era. When you talk about Kareem won most of his MVPs when Dr. J and Mel Daniels were in the other league. There's every era, every year, every season has something. That's why it's the ultimate reality show. There's something every year. I mean, what year was it we get to the finals? Was it 16? And Kyrie Irving gets hurt. What's his name? Love gets hurt. Look at 91 finals. Jordan gets in there for the first time, and they're building it up. And then Worthy is hurt. Byron Scott pulls his hamstring or whatever. Stuff happens every year. Bernard King leading the league and scoring at 35 a game or something like that. The year before, when Jordan is just coming into the league, this is going to be a huge matchup going forward. And he blows his knee out. Lenny Bias dies. Drazen Petrovic dies. Lewis dies. All these things going on. You can't control any of this stuff. So to then sit there in your comments and use it as an excuse, saying that, well, this guy didn't have to do. He has no control over that. And whatever guy you're voting for over him, he had to go through something like that too.
Hey, Rick. So I was just looking. Jordan actually suffered a minor foot injury in Game 3 of the '91 Finals when he dunked the ball. He came down on Sam Perkins' foot, and it just wasn't like blown out of proportion or whatever. But he didn't even practice because the bruise was so severe. But he played through it. The mental toughness.
Oh yeah, he was that close for the first time. He wasn't about to come out. No, that's.
And
now that's actually what happened. Now that same thing is what happened to Bill Russell against St. Louis with Pettit. That's the exact same thing happened where he hurt his ankle. I think it might have been Game 3 as well. No, maybe 4. But in any case, and he refused to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Game 6, Pettit scored 50 on him, and they lost their only final. Russell lost his only final because he had done the same thing and refused to come out of the game.
Real fast. I know, Robin, you want to say something, but I want to address Mr. DeMac Mizzle Show. I'm not familiar with you. I'm sure you're probably one of Robin's trolls or something like that. But so LeBron played against all-time greats. Everyone through every era played against an all-time great. 2, just because you lose doesn't mean that they're better than everybody else throughout time and space. LeBron just wasn't better than them, period. I don't understand how hard that is to understand. You're trying to excuse his losses as if everyone else didn't have great competition that they played against.
I'm
going to leave that alone.
Well, everyone had losses. Yeah. I mean, Jordan got beaten up early. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
You know, Russell got beat by the same coach twice. You know, Wilt lost all those series by a combined 9 points. You change 9 points in his career, and Russell has like 7 championships, and Wilt has like 6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because of 9 points. 9.
They counted.
People always talk like the Celtics. Yeah, people always talk about the Celtics of the 60s were dominant. They weren't dominant. They played in 10 Game 7s, but they were 10-0 in those Game 7s. They weren't dominant. They were clutch. When they won their last title in '69, they were the last team in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Robin, you were saying it seemed like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to say something, man, about, because basically all we're talking about, all you hear, what does that mean? All this is, they're excuses. That's all they are. It's all excuses, man.
Yep.
This guy was hurt one year. This guy got hurt for this series. This guy got traded on this team. This guy didn't have this help. This guy was going against this competition. This guy played with this guy. This guy played with that guy. All they're doing is giving excuses for a player. When we were growing up, this was never the case. No one gave excuses to these guys. No one talked about the injuries they were dealing with as an excuse for why they failed, or this guy didn't play, so I lost. This is what the LeBron James fans have done over the years now. They make excuses for every one of LeBron James's failures that he should take responsibility for, that he should take up the accountability for. They won't allow him to do that. So what do they say? They talk about competition. Who was Bill Russell playing against? Who did Michael Jordan play? Why are you worried about who Michael Jordan played against? Who Bill Russell played against? I saw Steph Curry guard LeBron James in the NBA Finals. What are we talking about here? I saw LeBron James being guarded by J.J. Barea, a Jason Terry. I saw LeBron James being guarded by Tony Parker in the 2007 NBA Finals. These guys have been guarded by all kinds of players. They played against all kinds of players. Like Dart said earlier, they all play against all-time greats, man. That's the whole point of Michael Jordan, some of these other players, and we talk about domination and dominating your era to a certain degree when we talk about winning, because we always marveled at Michael Jordan keeping the other all-time greats in his era from winning. That's what we marveled about. That's why it was impressive. It wasn't because he kept a bunch of bums or some guys that weren't that good from winning championships. And we were like, yeah, of course Michael Jordan won all these championships. These guys weren't that great. You can literally see the people, the players all over the NBA in the 90s, in the 60s, in the 70s, all these eras that we watched, the 80s. It didn't matter. Everyone played against competition. The problem for the LeBron James fan club and other fans of some of these current players is they always allow them to have excuses, to never have to take the responsibility to own up for whenever they fail or they stumble or something goes on. I did a video about Giannis last year, never owning up to the failure that was their season when they lose to the play-in tournament, Miami Heat, and things of that nature. And what did I say? I said Giannis was lame for bringing up Michael Jordan's name in the post-game press conference because the reporter asked him, was your season a failure? And what did Giannis reply? He said, Michael Jordan played in the NBA for 15 seasons. He only won 6 championships. So the other years was failures. He actually had the nerve to say that after his team was eliminated as a #1 seed to a play-in team. Michael Jordan never lost as a #1 seed, as a favorite to win an NBA title, and got bounced in the first round. But you bring up Michael Jordan's name, why? To deflect the blame off of you. That you should have taken that on the chin and be like, you know what? It was a failure because we were the #1 seed. We were the favorites to win the East, and we didn't get it done. But instead, he wanted an excuse. He wanted a duck from the smoke. And a lot of these guys do the same thing. They don't want to take the blame. So they come up with the competition excuse. Instead of putting it on LeBron James to raise his level of play, they give him the way out and say his competition was too steep. Meanwhile, these guys are wearing dresses to the games. They're load managing. They're flopping on the court. This is LeBron James' competition. James Harden and Kevin Durant, the softest of the soft. Get out of here.
Hey, hold on. Hey, Rob, you forgot. One guy injured his hand carrying a purse into the game in the NBA Finals. I ain't gonna say no names, but Kobe Bryant also. I think he's that last guy because remember he had a broken index finger in that whole 2009-2010 run, and when he led his team to victory over Boston, had 3 top 75 players. That Boston team was #1 in defense in the entire playoffs. Now, granted, had Kobe Bryant lost their finals, you would have never heard him say, well, I had a broke finger. No, he had a broken finger and he still went out there and got the job done. That's just what you do when you have that certain mindset. And like with this new influx of talent, like you said, it's like a virus. All they do is make excuses for their shortcomings. Not all of them, but the vast majority of them. It's always his guy's fault. Like Jimmy Butler, it was so refreshing to hear him say, nothing is wrong with my ankle, okay? They just outplayed us. That's it. Ain't no caveats.
Yeah.
Want to hear that? We lost. And I'm like,
Yeah,
bro,
Wilt played a final with a broken hand, and he didn't say it. No one knew it except the team doctor and him until after the series was over. And when you always hear fans talk about, oh, well, look at how his points per game drop
hey,
in the NBA Finals. He chokes. He had a broken hand.
Hey, Rex, was he? I don't think Wilt was carrying a purse though before the game. I'm just saying.
No, he was carrying he was a plumber though.
Yeah.
To 20,000 individual ladies. Real fast, Mac Mizzle, you asked for the link. I dropped the link. I don't know if you're coming up, but yeah, I dropped the link about 50 times. So, and I dropped it again a couple times, and I also will drop it right now.
I gotta go in a little while, fellas.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, we'll end it soon either way.
Yeah, them jokers, man.
Mac Mizzle, if you'd like to call in, we'll let you call in and have your take and leave. Otherwise, we'll be leaving soon. Otherwise, I'll give you a couple minutes, and then otherwise, we're gonna just start doing our sign offs.
The Mac Missile show. That sounds like Wilt to me.
The Mac Mizzle.
Oh yeah, no, okay. Well, here, so it's in. Apparently it's not showing up in their chat. Here it is on the screen. I don't know what to tell you. So that is the link though. So you can go and do it like that. But yeah, we'll be leaving. We will be signing off soon either way. So we'll do one caller. I've been dropping the link, so I didn't know that. This is a experimental for me and us in regards to where everyone sees this stuff. I can see everybody's chat on my screen, but I thought it went to everybody's channel as well. Apparently not. So I apologize for that. I didn't know that, but I have it up in the screen. If you really want to call in, you could type it in. Otherwise, you can go to my channel and then just look at it real fast if you want to click on it. But yeah.
So
but
yo,
yeah.
Dart, let me ask you a question, Dart.
Yeah.
So we're talking about big man, man. You know, before we sign off, you know, do you think that Joel Embiid is under a lot of pressure this season, man, to take the 76ers, you know, on a deep postseason run? He's never been to an Eastern Conference final before.
Yeah, no. Yeah, as a 76ers fan and as a process believer, and I'm getting upset just thinking about it. But in a phrase, yes, he is under a lot of pressure to do something because what has he done, realistically speaking? He's gotten that MVP. He's a great player. I'm not saying he's not a great player, and I'm a fan of Joel Embiid. But in respect to him being the greatest, of this era, some people might argue that I think Jokic is better, but a lot of people think that Joel Embiid is better than Jokic in some capacity. I think those two are the two best, and I think they're better in different ways comparing with each other. However, yeah, no, he is absolutely in a lot of pressure. And I personally, as jokingly speaking, my objective opinion, because it's a contradiction for people that aren't tracking that. No, he needs to do something, man, because for me, it's hard. Like I haven't even watched Sixers basketball this year. I've been the Sixers fan that I've watched every game more or less outside of just can't watching them, watching more than half the games, which is a lot to be, if you're being honest. I've done that before, just hoping that they would win, and I haven't even watched one game this season for them. I followed it because of the fantasy basketball league, and I will casually look at the record or who won and stuff. But watching the game, yeah, I can't hype myself up just to be let down again. So, but yeah, no, absolutely.
Man, there's all kinds of lies just flying. There's all kinds of misinformation being thrown up in here.
Yeah, so again, I apologize for all you that haven't seen the link. I have it on the screen, and again, you can come to my channel and copy paste it. You don't got to subscribe to my channel. Just come into my version of it and click the link. It's there. If you don't like what I got to say, you just want to troll Robin or whatever, or any of us, but for the paired people that are coming off of Robin or Rex's channel, you just come to mine and click on it, even if you don't want to subscribe to me. We're gonna be leaving soon, so if you want to do it, you got to do it soon. I was unaware that you guys couldn't click on it. So, what's your take on that, Robin? You think he's under pressure to do it? I guess real fast, Rex, what you're saying? Yeah.
No. What was Robin saying?
No, go ahead, Rex. I asked the question. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, this one guy is in here saying Kobe only ever played with one top 75 player. That's ridiculous. Where is the other one in here? There's just some really funny stuff going on in here.
Yeah, man. Once the LeBron James fan club invades, the conversation, the chats, then you start to get all these rabbit holes that branch off from one or two comments, man. And then you have all these people going back and forth. And, I can't see all the comments when people are doing them. Sometimes I see something pop up. I see you might flash them up there, Dart, if you want to, while I see something, because I would address some of these things as well, especially if it's wrong information. We never want wrong information out here on the airwaves, man. That's what we're here to prevent. We're here for the education. Anybody who's in the chat, all of my people, Dart's people, Rex's people, whoever you are, we're always here for the education, man. That's what's always been about here, man. This is not us just talking nonsense and things of that nature, man. So if there's people out there saying stupid things, hopefully everybody's out there checking them because we don't want any, wrong information, being spread out there, man. There's already too much of that.
Yeah, Metamorphosis says that Kobe's ring should have an asterisk because the league wanted the Lakers to win. Well, explain to the Chris Paul trade then. I'll wait.
Yeah, that. I think there's
complete
going to be
hypocrisy.
crickets. Yeah.
We're talking crazy now. We're going. See, those are the rabbit holes I'm talking about.
Yeah, they're talking crazy.
He still didn't come up.
No, man, I've had this up for like 5 minutes. That if he wanted to, he could type in and I explained. If you can't see it on the chat that I've been dropping, you can come to my channel and just click on it. It doesn't. You don't have to subscribe or anything. It's been like 5 or 10 minutes at this point. I don't think he really wants to do it.
Nah, they know, man. Listen, they know, man. It's like, it's like that scene from My Cousin Vinny when he was talking to the guy, man, and he knew the answer, but he didn't want to say it. And he was like, it's okay. We know. They know, man. They know Michael Jordan is so far and above LeBron James that they just can't admit it, though, man. So they love to come here and they love to listen to us speak. Listen, they're getting educated, like I said, so at least they come for the education, and that's why we must always continue to put out the right information, because whether or not they agree with us or not, they know that that's what it's about. It's about the facts here. It's about setting the record straight, letting the people know the deal, man. Like I said, when I speak on my channels, I can only speak for what I talk about on my channel specifically. I talk about what I watched growing up. I literally watched this stuff all the time, man. I was very fortunate in my life, man, where I had a father who was into sports. My parents got me into sports. So because of that, I was always in tune and I watched these things. And I continue to watch old tape and things of that nature. So I always try to give my true opinion on what I watched growing up. This is not me just talking because these guys are my favorite players or things of that nature. So as long as they're going to keep coming, we're going to keep educating, man, and they know the deal.
Hold up.
Hey, Rob.
No, he's come. Here he is.
Let's go.
How are you, sir? What's what is it? I forget it. It's gone down. What's your channel name?
What's up? I ain't got no channel. This DC Slim. I'm the one that said Kobe only played with one top 75 player. Let's roll. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, no,
right.
Kobe did play with one top.
Okay,
75.
look, let me clear this up. I'm gonna clear this up for y'all. All right. I hate LeBron. I'm gonna go ahead and put that out there now, just so you know. I am not a fan of his, will never root for him, don't care for him or nothing like that. All right. When I say Kobe only played with one top 75 player, Pau Gasol is not a top 75 player. You can't count Karl Malone and Gary Payton because they was at the end of the season when they played with Kobe. All right.
Okay, now, so you can't count the guys that played with him.
Well,
to justify your incorrect statement. Okay.
Okay, hold on. Let me make it clear. He played with those guys when they wasn't in their prime. We talking prime and what will help me benefit my rings. Okay. Kobe didn't play with any superstar great players like LeBron did. Okay. And I'm one of those dudes that say I love Michael Jordan, but I'm here to tell you, Kobe Bryant will give Mike a run for his money on the court. I think Mike is the greatest. I think Kobe is the best. I think Kobe is a better all-around player than Mike. That's taking nothing from Mike because Mike is my man. I just think Kobe enhanced Mike's skills 10 times better than any other player. All right. And if you don't agree with that, you're not a fan of basketball. That's taking nothing away from Mike.
Who did you say out of Kobe and LeBron was better all around? How did you state that?
All right, to me, LeBron is the best on paper, but when the game started, dropped to 16. Okay, so
okay.
What I mean, I don't look at stats. Stats mean nothing to me, but I do think Kobe Bryant is a better all-around player than Michael Jordan. I love Mike. I'm not hating on Mike. I'll never take anything from Mike, but I do understand that somebody can come by and make your skills enhance them. All right. I really don't even think the LeBron Jordan argument should be a discussion. This is a waste of time.
Yeah,
I'm just being real.
Let me speak on that one part you said about the all around with Kobe and Jordan. Now, I see where you coming from, but if I just want to break it down, just be practical. Now we got to look at this, right? And I love Kobe too, because when we say like all-time favorite player, Kobe actually my second all-time favorite player. But tell me, what season has Kobe Bryant had over 200 steals and 100 blocks? Because Jordan did that. And then tell me what season did Kobe ever shoot over 54% from the field, lead the league in scoring, lead the league in steals, won Defensive Player of the Year, and got the scoring title MVP. Because again, when we say all around, that's why I'm putting it into context like that. Because again, Kobe is my second favorite player, right behind MJ. But when we use that,
when you say what you did was, see, I'm not a stat junkie, right?
okay.
I understand what you're saying about what Mike did, but don't misconstrue what Kobe did in a league where the ball movement was different. He played it against much better players, and this is not a knock to old history when Mike. It was better players in the league that time when Kobe played. I would say was the best players at that time in that 15-year span. Kobe got more all defensive than Mike. All right, he is equal to him in stats, but the only thing that Mike got over Kobe is the undefeated streak in the finals and the 2 3-peats. But see, you know what a lot of people never mention? Kobe almost had 2 3-peats that never come up in conversations. You can look at his rosters and tell he did better with less than anybody in history. So I gotta say it. Go back to what I was saying earlier about you changing your game to make your team better. I honestly think Shaq was the second hand when they went 3-peat. Okay, Pau Gasol was the second hand when they won. It's almost like this LeBron thing has like totally disqualified Kobe's career. And we know for a fact that Mike is God and Kobe is Jesus. Okay. So Mike is great because of the shoes and everything after basketball. That's his extension, what makes him greater. But I tell you, man, Kobe right there with him in popularity.
Well,
Tell me I'm wrong.
No, go ahead, Dog.
Real fast, for anybody, because people are asking what my channel is. It is MJFB. Michael Jordan Fans Are the Best. If you want to go find the link. However, like I said before, we're going to shut this off soon. I was unaware that it wasn't shown to everybody, so I'll fix that next time. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt. What's up, Hoop God?
Oh no, I was following up on what he was saying about the competition that they face now. If we just look at it, if you're saying in that Western Conference, yeah, I can agree because their Western Conference, I ain't gonna lie, it wasn't no cakewalk over there. Like they pretty much ran the gauntlet. And also let me give Kobe credit because when Shaq was traded and then Kobe ran up on the Spurs. Oh yeah, he did beat the San Antonio Spurs without Shaq. So I give Kobe his props on that. Now I do want to say this: what defense would you say that Kobe went up against that's on par with them bad boy Pistons? Because that's what MJ had to go through before he got to the mountaintop.
Okay, look, let's be real. And like I said, I love Mike. The bad boy Pistons defense was like that, but that Western Conference that Kobe was facing was a little bit better. He had better big men and more skilled players. All right. Now, I'm like, once again, I'm not knocking what Jordan did, but we are lying to ourselves if we say that basketball wasn't at its best point when you had those players. You got to remember who Kobe was going against. He had the San Antonio. Look, I give it to you like this: nobody has ever won back-to-back when Kobe was around. He was the only one did it.
That's true.
All right. So you never had he was dominating the league on bad. Man, this dude had Smush Parker and he was in the finals. He was in the finals.
He didn't take Smush to the finals. But
hold up. Let me get in here real quick. I have listened to this blasphemy long enough, man. Hold the hell on, man.
Hey, first of all,
I don't even got time for all this right now. I was gonna leave, but you came here with the craziness. Now listen, I respect what you're saying, man. Kobe Bryant is really high on my list all time, man. So no doubt about it. But hold the hell on here because you said some crazy things, man. And let's slow it down here. Let's be honest here. When we talk about athleticism as it pertains to being a basketball player and playing basketball, Kobe Bryant's nowhere near the level of athlete that Michael Jordan is. So
hold on. That's not a I think
let's agree on that.
Athleticism is not a statistic.
Exactly, it's not a statistic.
Is not a statistic.
Michael Jordan's a greater athlete than Kobe Bryant, right?
Okay, he can he can be the better athlete. I'm not
No,
saying
Michael
he's
Jordan
not.
is quicker, he's faster, and he can jump higher. He's
I'm
stronger
not.
than Kobe Bryant.
Wait a
He
minute.
had bigger
Hold
hands than
on.
Kobe Bryant. He has all
Hold,
the dimensions, longer arms than Kobe Bryant. Can
but
we
that
agree on this?
we
Those
listen.
are the
We
facts.
can.
Those are the facts, dude.
Wait.
Those are the facts,
Hold
my
on.
man.
Hold on.
I'm educating you. Listen to me.
Hold,
Trust me. I'm educating you here. Okay, so Michael Jordan's a greater athlete. So that gives Kobe Bryant a disadvantage right there. When you talk about him being more skilled, really, what are you talking about? You're just talking about their overall games. You're talking about the bag that they have, right?
hold on.
Kobe
Wait a
Bryant's
minute.
bag is not deeper than Michael Jordan's bag
Hold on.
because Michael Jordan was who Kobe Bryant was emulating,
Hold
was he
on.
not? So you
Wait a
cannot
minute.
outperform the master. Kobe Bryant didn't outperform the master. So
That's
when we
not.
talk about
Listen.
Michael Jordan's fadeaway
D-
shot, his
DC, can you
turnaround jumper, his movement without the
please let Robin
basketball,
speak?
his ability to go in the triple threat position, his ability to make quick decisions in the post, his high IQ, the way that he galvanized his teammates. He does all those things at a higher level than Kobe Bryant. When we talk about basketball IQ, Michael Jordan is a savant. He's above a Kobe Bryant mentally. That's why he can form a relationship with a Scottie Pippen and not have that crumble into pieces like him and Shaquille O'Neal. This goes to Kobe Bryant not being there mentally and understanding. This is why he takes bad shots oftentimes when he shouldn't be
Wow.
doing these things. Michael
Wow.
Jordan is more crisp and precise with the basketball. His overall movement was better than Kobe Bryant's. And when we talk
Wow.
about defense, you mentioned that he had more all defensive selections, not more first team defense selections. And Michael Jordan played for 11 full seasons, man, and made 9 defensive first teams. Kobe Bryant played for what, 16 or 17 full seasons and made what, 9 first team
Makes
all defenses.
he.
But
Yeah.
when we talk about defense, Michael Jordan was a more skilled defensive player. It has nothing to do with the numbers. Michael Jordan was a much more skilled defensive player. Did Kobe Bryant give the effort? Absolutely. You're right on the money. Kobe Bryant gave the effort. He gave the hustle. He wanted to play defense. He just didn't have the athleticism or the ability to play defense at a level that Michael Jordan was able to play, which is why Kobe Bryant doesn't have the quote unquote statistics of a Michael Jordan or the impact that Michael Jordan had on both sides of the ball. Nobody considers Kobe Bryant the greatest two-way player in NBA's history. They consider Michael Jordan that because of his two-way play. So you're trying to negate Shaquille O'Neal and all the teammates he had. You're taking away from Meta World Peace. Didn't he hit a
No.
big-time three-pointer in one of those NBA
No.
finals? Didn't he step up? Didn't Lamar Odom step up? Didn't
I
Pau
never.
Gasol
I
step
never
up?
did that. I never did that. All right. This is my rebuttal to what you're saying. Okay. And you know I love your channel, dog. You know what I'm saying? I tell you like this. Everything you said is not a stat, or it ain't got nothing to do with game. Just because his arms might be longer or he does this, that's not saying he's better. Kobe is a better player than Mike. It's the same equivalent of your son being better than the father. See, that's what kill all of these
How
arguments.
is he better, though? Explain it.
Oh, let me explain it. Number one, he can shoot better. Okay, defense would be a tie.
Who
Matter of
shoots
fact,
better?
how about this? I'll give Mike the defense. Okay, Mike
What do
can't
you mean
shoot
you will
like.
give it? He took it. His
Hold on,
videotape
hold
footage
on, hold
proves
on,
it.
hold on. Hear me out. We know that Michael Jordan is a great shooter, but he's not a better shooter than Kobe. Okay, it's nothing wrong with saying that. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm
Hold
a
on.
Mike fan. I
Hold
want you
on.
to understand that.
Hold on.
I'm
Based
not.
off
Hold on, real
what?
quick. I'm just gonna say this about that. The reason why I believe that you're wrong on that aspect is what I was alluding to: the mind, the IQ. Michael Jordan was always known for taking better shots, always being on a good position with his footwork and things of that nature. Whereas Kobe Bryant has been known to not have the good footwork right and be off balance behind the
Oh no,
backboard and take bad
no.
shots.
See,
That
so
goes to
what
you
you
not
doing?
shooting good. Michael
No, what
Jordan
you
did better
doing right
shooting in the
now?
clutch. Who's more clutch, Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan?
Oh, now you don't want to go there. I would say Kobe is
No, you
more
don't want to
clutch.
go there.
Nah, MJ got
Look,
more. He
Who?
got
listen,
MJ got 9 buzzer beaters. Kobe
Who?
listen to
got
what
8.
I'm saying.
No, man, you have to be
Hold up,
honest with yourself.
hold on. Pause for 1 second. Just hear me out. When you say clutch is got to be put in context. It's not just winning the game. I'm saying, look, it's almost like you're not allowed to say anything bad about Mike. I love Mike. Okay, I'm telling you,
No,
I
you have
am
to
a
be
Mike
accurate.
fan.
Accurate.
Listen, accurate is this. He has more all defensive, all first team than Mike.
No, they not.
Why
They
is it
tied.
that?
No, they
Okay,
tied for 9, bro.
if they're tied, right? I'm
Yeah.
asking y'all this.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
can't these two giants be equal? They won't have the exact same game. They won't. They're not the same size. One is taller than the other one. One is slimmer than the other one. But they do have a similar game. But on the court, all right, let's just be real. If Kobe checked Mike, I don't care if Mike was in his prime and you put Kobe in his prime, bro, you'll get a good show. Okay.
Yeah,
Now
I agree. I agree.
I'm not saying Kobe is better than Mike or everything. I'm saying Kobe is the better player because he is Michael Jordan 2.0. Okay. He is Michael Jordan with the jumper. He is Michael Jordan with the anything you want to add to it. And that is really what makes him on the level. It's not a knock to Mike. You know what I'm saying? And see, that's the conversation we really should be having. We should not mention LeBron's Lance Armstrong James ever in the
Lan-
the people
hey,
of
Lance
these two dudes.
Armstrong. I like that.
You,
Lance
That's the
you
Armstrong.
best
know,
thing you said all day. That's the only thing that you said
Hey,
I'm agreeing with right now.
yeah, I like that. Lance Armstrong James.
at the
That
end
was
of the day,
hilarious.
fellas,
That was
I
hilarious.
think Kobe's career is blemished by number one, he ain't a hood dude, so he don't get a lot of credit. All right, his Italian uh upbringing, he's not right like everybody. But you know what? I hate the fact that nobody gives him credit because he mimicked the God.
I'm gonna say
See
this.
that he the only one that did it.
Yeah, I'm gonna
So
say
and it's
this. I'm gonna
almost
say this.
he getting
Kobe,
punished.
Kobe, Kobe is the hardest worker. I've never seen nobody outwork that man. Now, granted, that'd have been a detriment because he didn't take care of his body in the appropriate way, possibly. But when we say hardest worker, just dedicating your life to the game. No, I don't think you could put nobody Kobe in that. But we're saying Michael Jordan, like you said, he's trying to emulate that board and laid out. We can make that argument because I'm with you there. But like Rob
And you
said,
gotta remember too, bro, he also almost three-peated. See,
yeah,
look, I
right, right,
love
right,
what
right. And
he
hold on,
almost
hold on,
did this with
hold on.
Pau
Yeah,
Gasol.
and let me give him his props. Let me give him his props
LeBron
too.
James. LeBron James almost won 10 titles too.
But let me give so Kobe is the only player to win back to back without a top 75 teammate. You are exactly right. And that's another reason, one of the reasons I got him over LeBron. But when we're using this Jordan and Kobe comparison, now we got to look at the games, right? And like Rob said, we can't penalize Mike for taking better shots and having the footwork and being efficient because again, there's styles of Jordan maximized it. Because what is everybody else doing? They're trying to emulate Mike with the fadeaway and the fancy moves and the shot creation ability. Now, I will say this: when I want, when we get down to those last 6, 7, 8 with two, I do consider that clutch. It ain't always got to be the last shot. Can you hit those shots to keep your
Yes,
team in the
Kobe,
league? To win the game.
Kobe can
And
do
yes,
that.
Kobe, and yes, and so
Hey,
looking at
let me
Kobe.
cut. Hold on, I don't mean to cut you off.
Go
Let
ahead,
me ask you this:
go ahead, go ahead.
name one thing that Mike can do that Kobe can't do.
In regards to what?
Basketball. Don't name a stat. Just on the court. Name one thing besides palming a basketball that Kobe can't do that Mike can do. And you
Now
can
you
throw
said
LeBron in there to make
now
the
you
argument even better.
I
now
just
you
told you what it was. I told you what it was. It was the mental side. Kobe had the gift and the curse. He didn't know how to bring it in, my man. This is what I'm
Well,
talking about.
he's
Michael
called a
Jordan
black
knew how to
mamba.
maximize and run the triangle offense to a level Kobe Bryant never understood. This is
Both
why he
of them
didn't
had
win a
the same
second
coach.
three-peat, and Michael Jordan did. Kobe
Oh,
Bryant didn't understand that aspect. Michael Jordan mastered it.
that's
He
not
wasn't going
fair
to
to
take
say,
stupid
bro.
bonehead shots.
That's
He
not
was going to
fair to
get his
say.
teammates better shots. That's
That's
what
not.
the difference. Kobe Bryant can do that. When you're talking about someone emulating somebody, Kobe Bryant wasn't as precise or as crisp as Michael Jordan. This is why he didn't
Whoa.
get to that level. He just
Mm,
wasn't.
mm, mm,
Watch the videotape. It's all there. He
mm,
wasn't the
mm,
athlete of
mm.
Michael Jordan. That hurts Kobe Bryant. You
Well,
saying he
listen.
went
See,
against better
you
competition.
still
Who?
saying
Shane
athletic
Battier,
stuff.
Bruce Bowen, right? Doug Christie, these guys. These are the same guys that Michael Jordan was abusing when he came back on the Wizards. The
Hey,
same guys. They were in their
you
physical primes, and Michael Jordan was busting them down with the old man game. This is Michael
listen.
Jordan, man.
Okay, look. I watched Kobe against Olajuwon. I watched Kobe when he was going through that court case, come drop 65 4 nights straight. Okay. What I'm saying to you again, he is not going to be the exact replica of Michael Jordan. Because when I buy new J's that come out that he wore 20, 30 years ago, they're not the same, but they're similar. Okay. Is no
Bro, you
way.
asked me what he couldn't do that Michael Jordan couldn't. I just explained it to you. That's all I
No,
was doing. I
listen,
was just
hold
answering
on,
your
hold on,
question.
hold on. See,
And
look,
that's what it
hold
is
on.
right there.
Look, it is not, listen, bro. I'm saying it again. And I
And he
don't think a
can't play
lot of
defense to
people
the level of Michael Jordan, man. Those are the
look,
facts. He's not
if
that
you
guy. Kobe
listen,
Bryant's an
if
all-time great, man. I got him in my top 5 all time. But he's
Come on.
not better than Michael Jordan. For you to say that Kobe
I
Bryant
didn't
was better than
say
Michael Jordan, but he's not
okay, look,
greater, is an
I'll
asinine
wrap it up
statement
with
of
this.
epic proportions, man.
I'll wrap it up with this, okay? To me,
Uh,
Michael Jordan is a Rolls Royce. Kobe
yeah, go
Bryant is a
ahead.
Bentley, okay? LeBron James, like you said, my man, is a Jeep Wrangler, okay? So what I'm saying to y'all, okay, I'm not saying that overall history impact on basketball. Kobe ain't better than Mike in that. But I can tell you this, on that court, Kobe will give that dude a run for his money. You can name all the stats, all the heat. And guess what? They played for both of the same coaches. Kobe got his 4 rings quicker than Mike got his 6. Okay,
Hey,
so it's a lot of things that we could. I love how stats is only good when it comes to Mike and LeBron, but we don't use those same stats when it come to Kobe.
oh
I
You
no
didn't
no
know,
no
mention one
no
stat
no
in
no
my
no. Hold
entire
on, hold on.
soliloquy.
Wait, he didn't. DC. Well, wait, DC. Let me say this. When you use the stats, because this is another one for Kobe that I think people don't bring up. Kobe
I have
shoots.
never named a stat
No,
for
no,
Kobe.
no,
Remember
no.
that
I
too.
know, no. I know you didn't. I'm saying I'm making a general statement. Yes, Kobe do got numbers that favor him, right? Because if you look at Kobe's true shooting percentage, it's right up there with Tim Duncan at 55%. And that's another reason I got him over LeBron, because he's shooting perimeter jump shots. Now, I wanted to come back to something that you said too. Kobe's on The Last Dance telling you, I would never say I'm better than Mike because he gave me so much to the game.
That's
He
right.
taught me so much about basketball.
That's
So
right.
this is just me. I'm paraphrasing Kobe Bryant. If he said that he's not better than Mike, I don't know how we can create an argument. That's why I said I do got Kobe up in my top 5, just like Rob does. I don't put him over MJ because Kobe's on record of saying I would never say I'm better than him. I
Well,
had to
that's
learn from
Kobe
him.
saying that. That's not us saying it. Okay, Kobe is supposed to say that. If we want to play politically correct games, yeah, that's what Kobe's supposed to say. But us on this panel, okay, just looking at an eye test and see, I think we got a lot of recency bias, and we forget about people sometimes. It's okay to say somebody might be slightly a tad bit better if they're on the same level. Only in the Kobe Mike aspect. No other argument. You know, see, it's like me. I don't consider uh uh Michael Jordan a better no, I'm not even gonna go there because I don't want to piss nobody off. But I'll say this.
I got them
They
both
on
over
this
LeBron. Both Kobe and MJ over LeBron.
I don't even mention Lance Armstrong James in the same breath as these two. Don't
I
forget
feel
that.
you. I feel
And
you.
I'm telling you, everybody that does that should be
I feel
charged
you.
$1,500 every time you do it. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, fellas, and I'm just keeping it real with y'all. There's no
Yeah,
hate on Mike because I love Mike. I'm about to be 50. I done watched all Mike games,
for
but I
sure.
can tell you this: some of them San Antonio Spurs teams and some of them Denver Nuggets teams and all them other teams when Kobe was in the league. They'll beat some of them old teams Mike used to play against.
They're not beating the New York Knicks. They're
Oh
not
yeah,
beating them New York Knicks, man.
hold on.
Come
The
on,
reason why
man.
they'll beat the Knicks was just rough. See, look, and I'm gonna go ahead and admit this right now. Back then, it was just more toughness than skill.
Are
Okay,
they gonna wait? Are they gonna beat the Suns? Because the
No, it
Suns
was more
outscored Golden State.
not
fundamentals than skill. That's what it was. The
The
not
fundamentals.
Suns
Don't forget
outscored
that.
Golden State. The
the
2017 Warriors.
Suns.
The
The
Suns scored
Suns.
more than them.
I would say back in that day, the Suns was one of the more skilled basketball teams.
Come
The
on, man.
Detroit
What's
Pistons,
fundamentals?
the New York Knicks was mostly bullies.
Remember, the Lakers couldn't even beat the Utah Jazz in 97, 98 with Shaq, with Kobe, with Eddie Jones, with Nick Van Exel. They were getting
You're
housed
right,
by Karl Malone and
Yeah,
John
they
Stockton
were.
they was
that
getting
Michael
But
swept.
Jordan beat
well,
down.
hold on. You know what
Tim
we
No,
Duncan.
no,
always
hold on.
Hey,
forget?
I'm right.
Tim Duncan
Hey,
couldn't beat him neither.
you
Those
are
are the
right. But
facts.
guess what we always do when it come to Jordan, and I might get in trouble for saying this. We only grade Jordan on the 6 titles.
No, no, we
Get out
don't.
of here, man.
No, we
Nobody.
don't.
Stop
Oh,
it right
listen.
now.
Now,
Don't do
hold up.
that.
Let me make a point.
No,
Let me
no,
make a
we
point.
don't.
We talked
Nobody
about the
ever
Pistons.
talks about. Hold up. Nobody ever talks about when Mike was becoming Mike. See, we leave out years when it come to Mike. When we talk about Mike, this is what we do. We use these same words. We say undefeated in the finals,
Don't do that.
calming his defense. We
Don't you
never
do
talk
that.
about when Mike was losing. Okay, remember when Detroit used to beat Mike? Okay, now that's what I'm trying to say. It's not being disrespectful. It's just saying if you're gonna come into a court of law and you want to get your client off something, you got to present all the evidence. You can't be halfway presenting stuff, to fit your argument. And once
Hey,
again,
bro, no,
yeah,
you're right. You're right. Jordan didn't beat them. But if we, like you said, let's look at the matchups. Let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the results. Michael Jordan never got outplayed by anybody on Boston or Detroit. That's not even an
look,
argument.
hey fellas, let's do it again. Let's give Rubber Nose his credit. Rubber Nose Scottie Pippen was an animal on defense. I'm not gonna say he was great, okay? But what I'm saying to you, every Batman need
How
a
long
Robin.
how long did it take him to become that though? Because even when he came, they still was losing.
Look, Jordan didn't win a ring in his first year.
I
He
never
didn't
said he
win a
did.
ring in his second year.
Bro, I never said he did. I said Jordan never got outplayed when he lost. We can go look it up.
See,
We can look
listen,
at the game and the
what we
numbers.
doing? We pulling stuff out the air now.
No,
When
no,
you say he
no.
never got
Tell me,
outplayed, I've
tell me,
watched
tell,
times
tell me
Mike
when.
get outplayed before.
What
We
series?
can't act like
Tell
that
me,
never
No,
tell me a
happened.
series.
Hey,
Tell me a series.
real fast. Did Kobe ever get outplayed?
Yes, sir,
Kobe
he
did.
did.
Yes, Kobe
He
did.
Okay,
did.
everyone gets outplayed at some point in time. So I don't
That,
understand what the
so
point is.
that's great answer. Great answer. So I don't think that needs to be brought up. See, this is what
Michael
we doing in
Jordan is
basketball.
24-0 when he has home court advantage in the postseason. 24-0, my man.
Hey,
So
look up
what does that
Kobe.
highlight? That
I bet
highlights
you
that
if you
Michael
look up
Jordan is
Kobe's,
consistent and Michael Jordan doesn't get outperformed and that he's winning all the time. You're talking about we talk
fellas,
about the 6-0. No, we're not.
Michael
Michael Jordan
Jordan
had to go
was
through a
not the
grind. That's what we
he
talk about as
was
Michael
not the
Jordan
only
fans.
player
The
on that
grind that he
team.
went through. What grind did Kobe Bryant go through? He came on a team with Shaquille O'Neal. What are we talking
Wow.
about here?
So
What grind did Kobe
hold
Bryant to
on,
go to earn his
hold on,
starting spot over Eddie
hold
Jones?
on,
He didn't have
hold
to
on.
grind through
See,
the bad boy Pistons or the 86, 87 Celtics or the Milwaukee Bucks or the Philadelphia 76ers. He didn't have to do any of that stuff. You're trying to
so
fault
wait a
Michael
minute.
Jordan for going through a
So hold
grind
on.
and
Let me hold on.
ascending? What are you
Hold
talking about here?
let me ask you this question.
What are you
So
saying?
what you just did was the first thing you said was he played with Shaq. Did you see Kobe's average when he was playing with Shaq?
No. Wait, I said no. You just said you don't want to talk about numbers.
No,
See,
no,
you
no.
think you're doing
Listen,
now?
I'm not.
Listen to
No,
me.
no, I'm not.
You
I'm not
cannot say.
saying
I
stats.
said he played with Shaq. Did he not? Did
So
Michael
what
Jordan
does
have an All-Star on his team as a rookie? Answer the
listen?
question.
What does that
Answer the
mean
question.
when you
Did
what
Michael Jordan have an All-Star on his team when he came in?
what?
No.
I mean,
So what you're
that had
saying is you're
that.
trying to fault Michael Jordan for working
No,
and being under a
no,
rebuild in
no.
Chicago, who had 3 different head coaches in his first 3 seasons in the league, with a team that was being rotated around him every single season. He didn't win and make a championship, and you're blaming that on Michael Jordan? What are you
Listen,
talking
see,
about here?
listen,
Michael
listen,
Jordan had to
listen.
wait and
Okay,
develop guys
hold
and work
on,
with these
hold
guys,
on.
right? And learn to win and earn it. He went through a
Listen,
grind to win.
listen.
Michael
See,
Jordan's the only
we have
all-star
gotten off
superstar
topic
player in
again.
NBA history to go through the grind that way. He's the
Hold
only
on.
one to come
Get
in
back in the
with
car.
0
Get back
all-stars
in the
on his
car.
team.
Come on, just get back in the car real quick. Listen to what I'm saying again. Okay. I am not discrediting Jordan. I have said that 15 times. But what is not fair to this argument is for you to only talk about Jordan in his greatness. Don't ever try to make it look like Jordan didn't fail at anything.
Jordan
This
was
is why
always
he's
great.
Jordan.
He didn't always win, but he was always great.
No,
My
no,
man,
he
he
won.
led the league in points as a rookie. He was on the
Listen,
second team All NBA
I'm not
as a
disagreeing
rookie.
with you on that. But
He
he
was great
didn't.
from day one. He
But guess
wasn't a
what?
winner from day one. There's a
But,
difference there.
but Jordan didn't win till he got a good solid team.
No, what? No, he didn't win until they developed and they were developed into a team
So
by
I
Michael
like the
Jordan, man.
wordplay.
What are you talking about?
Wordplay. You just changed develop to them just being a good team. It's the same thing. See, once again, this is
What?
what's destroying basketball. Everybody has their person that they like, and what they won't do is be honest
Nah,
about the
you gotta bring
person
the
that they
facts, man. I
represent.
told you on my channel, it's always been about the facts, man. Understand that. When you go back later and you go back and you watch and listen to this stuff, you'll understand maybe when you listen to it again. I haven't said
So
a
wait a
lie.
minute.
I haven't talked about a fact on here.
I didn't
I'm
say
educating you right now.
you
You're not
didn't.
trying to listen, man. Kobe
Listen,
Bryant's
look.
not better than Michael Jordan in any aspect of basketball, man. There's no
Whoa,
aspect. If you want to argue
whoa,
dribbling, maybe
whoa,
dribbling.
whoa.
Okay. Other than that, he's not a better rebounder, a defensive player, a shooter, a leader. None of that stuff. He does better than Michael Jordan, man. He just does it. Those are the facts.
You want to know something funny? I don't look for him to do exactly what Jordan did. But like I told you before, you can say all of that, okay? But you watch Kobe. That's the reason why you got him in your top 5. Because you know he's the exact replica of Michael Jordan. It's not that's why I say when it come to these arguments, fellas, look, man, I understand everybody got their person they like, times was this when we was older. I'm not a grumpy old man. I can't do that. I look at all times in basketball, eras are different. Okay. But I believe if I put Kobe in any era, he'll shine. I can't do that with every player. I believe Michael Jordan was a great player. I also believe that Michael Jordan didn't win right off the bat. And Scottie Pippen don't get the credit that he should be getting. Man, did you see? You can name some of the teams, that Chicago teams. What's mighty funny, I never hear y'all talk about the other people that was on there. He had a great co-stars was great. Steve Kerr was hitting buckets. Cartwright, Pippen was shutting down everybody. So
God,
let's
go
not try to
check
make it
Steve
look like.
Kerr's three-point percentage in the NBA Finals for his career. He's not even in the top 100 in NBA's history, man. Ron
Notice
Harper
I
shot
haven't
better from
said.
three than Steve Kerr in the NBA Finals, man.
I'm
What are
not
we
talking
talking
about it.
about here? You're just
Listen,
talking nonsense right now. Just stop, man.
listen.
Come
Why
on,
are
man.
you
Stop
using
trying to.
words?
Scottie Pippen's in the Hall of Fame. What do you mean he didn't get recognition? Michael
Listen,
Jordan brought
listen.
him out for the 1997 Finals MVP presentation and called him his MVP. How does Scottie Pippen not get his shine? You just said you're 50 years old. Then
No,
you must
because
have been around for this. I lived
you're
this. Scottie Pippen got his shine, dude. He got his just due.
no,
Stop sounding like a
listen.
Scottie
Let me
Pippen fan
explain.
right now, man.
Calm
Come
down,
back
calm
to
down. Listen,
reality. Yo, we
this
got
is
to
the
end this,
point I'm
man. I
saying.
can't do this anymore.
Okay, listen. This is
Yeah.
what I'm saying to you is at the end of the day, you can't be emotional
Yeah.
about this. Okay. That's
I'm
another
emotional.
one
You're
of these
not telling the
problems.
facts, man. We must
Listen,
keep the facts. You're
okay,
talking
hold
about
on,
Steve
hold
Kerr's
on,
knocking down
hold on,
shots. No,
hold
he's
on,
not.
hold on.
No, he wasn't. Go
DC,
check Steve Kerr's numbers.
yeah, I
Listen,
got to go too, and I'm the one. I'm
hey,
also managing the show, but I thank you for coming on, DC. Thank you,
peace
Robin.
out, fellas.
Yep. And I want to thank everybody that came into this live chat. If you liked anybody that you weren't aware of, whether it's NNB Sports, Politicus Rex, Robin, or myself, depending on what channel you came from, if you like what they have to say, go check out their channels and like and subscribe to them. I know you're the last bone in the fight here, Robin, but thank you for coming. Everyone has left already. And as always, it's always great. And again, just to reiterate for the people that may not have seen it, Uncommon Sense should be coming on in a couple weeks, and I'm going to start reaching out to other of these up and coming YouTubers to try and make the greatest Michael Jordan fandom conglomerate. It's a goal and aspiration. I hope a lot of these guys would like to join. Uncommon Sense said he would at least come on the one show, and maybe we'll see how that goes. Maybe he'll come on regularly in the future. But Robin, thank you again for coming. Do you have anything you'd like to say to anybody?
No, man. Once again, dog, man. I know we ran really long and stuff, man. So yeah, guys, thank you everybody out there, man. Once again, great show.
Absolutely. And for everyone, Michael Jordan fans,